going on, everybody? Welcome back here. Another live stream. We're getting ready to start the week, and crypto's tumbling a little bit here as we get closer to market open. We are about 15 minutes away from market open. We're getting ready for my show that we do every Monday through Friday. We're going to try it again. We're going to live stream it just like we did Friday. So sit back, strap it down, get ready because a lot to get into. We've definitely got some market manipulation happening. A massive Bitcoin whale sold yesterday. And some may say, well, okay, how much? Like, what are we talking? It was so much that it actually caused a cascade effect downwards in the market. It actually dumped the price of Bitcoin by $4,000. Now, there is a silver lining here because the money that was sold to the tune of $2.2 billion worth of Bitcoin did not just go away and go out of the market. It came back into Ethereum, which was pretty interesting. Okay, and we'll dive into that. We'll dive into the top stories. Things still looking very, very good here overall, especially for altcoins. We'll talk about it. I think a lot of people tend to overreact, when we get a little bit of a sell-off. And it's really easy to kind of overreact, right? Especially given how good last week was. We had the Jackson Hole Summit on Friday. The market pumped like crazy because Jerome Powell gave us some indication that we could potentially see some interest rate cuts in September. Now, there are no guarantees that this is going to happen exactly, but we will see what happens. We will see what happens. So let's dive into it, guys. You guys know the drill. Hit that like button. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. If you're watching on X, share the stream. If you're on Rumble, I'm sure there's a way for you guys to share the stream as well. Appreciate everybody out there listening in. But let's get into it here. We'll take a look at the overall market, start breaking some things down. We're also going to be starting the show here momentarily, and we'll get some live reactions and responses from some other folks around the crypto space as well. Let's see here. Sending a quick text real quick to my co-host for the Breakfast Club. But all right, let's take a look here. We are bouncing back as we get closer to market open. Bitcoin slightly up here in the last hour, but we're down to 111,000. Fear and greed at 50. Altcoin season back down from like 52, 53 down to 45 right now. But Ethereum holding up really well, just above 4,600 at the time of this recording. XRP did give a little bit back here, down 2%, back down to 295. There are some cryptos up a little bit. VeChain actually going against the grain right now, hyper liquid as well, and we do have some opportunities to make some plays here. If you're looking at some beta plays on ETH, Uniswap, Lido, DAO, Morpho, which has been really looking good. They're down 6% right now. Pendle's down 7%. Athena, which is owned by a lot of big institutions, they're down 7%. So is Pudgy, down 7% right now across the board. But we're going to get into some interesting storylines. One of the top stories has to do with one of my favorite altcoins right now that I think really has a huge opportunity to do some big numbers. Ondo Finance's groundbreaking leap onto Ethereum. Not sure if you saw this happen a couple days ago. It happened on Saturday, actually. The news came out on Saturday. The world of finance is constantly evolving, and a major shift is on the horizon. Ondo Finance is set to launch tokenized stocks on the Ethereum network, marking a significant milestone for DeFi. And this was shared over on X this weekend. The launch date for these innovative assets, tokenized stocks, is September 3rd. So at the time of this publication, Ondo's native token was around $1. I think it's trading a little less than that now. But you guys know, you've probably heard me say this before. Anytime Ondo is down under $1, I really like it. It did pop up here to like 102 in the last 24 hours. That was the highest we got here in the last 7 days. And we've been kind of trending sideways for a while. We're still up slightly on the year, 24%. The all-time high is right around $2, a little higher than that, 214. So we're still 56% down from its all-time high. And I think with everything we know that's happening with tokenization, Ondo's well positioned, a top 40 crypto right now, sitting around 3 billion. I do think there's really some opportunity here for Ondo to make some moves here. There's Todd, crypto.com glitch last night. I didn't see that. Bro. Clary's in the house. He's reposting the stream on X. Appreciate you, bro. What's good? Much love from Oregon. What's going on, Lucio? How you doing? They want investors to sell their XRB so they can buy cheap. Well, I think it's definitely, part of this ongoing narrative, of manipulation, right? And there's no doubt that this is a trader's market right now. Heavy manipulation across the board. Everything is being manipulated by the institutions. And if you're a retail investor, you've got to just understand this and carve out a path or a way that you can stay ahead of this curve. Now, that could include, buying on some of the pullbacks. That could include, just kind of holding the line through this, choppiness and volatility and manipulation, and just understand that, hey, you've got your targets later on in the cycle and you're okay with that. There's a lot of different ways to play it. I mean, I think one thing that I would say is, as long as you're, long-term crypto here and you're not just looking at it as a short-term fix, you've got to kind of let the manipulation play out, right? There's really no other way that we can go about it as retail investors. You've got to just kind of let it play out. So Random, appreciate that, reposting the stream. Thank you for that. Which one has bigger gains ahead, HBAR or XRP? It's tough to say. I mean, so XRP is way bigger. I mean, way, way bigger than HBAR. So HBAR probably has more upside, but XRP's a safer bet. That's what I would say. But I like them both. I own them both, so it's hard for me to go one way or the other. I currently own more XRP than HBAR simply because it's a bigger, market cap. It's more solidified, and I was accumulating it, pretty heavily when it was 40, 50 cents in the bear. But I do like HBAR quite a bit. It fits a lot of those narratives as well. ISO compliant, US based, within the area of tokenization. So I like both of them, Lord Jason. I like both plays here. Appreciate all the people rolling in here. We got some people joining us here as we get ready for market open. We're 7 minutes away. Make sure you guys share the stream. Drop a comment down there. Help us get our numbers up, get some more folks in here. Oak, Woody says both HBAR and XRP. I'm with you, bro. Ali, thanks for the $2 super chat. Thank you, man. Good morning from Fort Lauderdale. What's up, guy? How you doing, man? Oak, Woody, true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take on it. So let's see here what else is happening. All right, we got a nice audience building on X. Appreciate you guys for that. We'll go ahead and repost it ourselves just to let people know we're in the building. There we go. All right, let's see what else we've got. Top story. So tokenized stocks coming to Ondo. That's good stuff. Arthur Hayes. What's Arthur Hayes doing here? Arthur Hayes. What's he doing? He likes Hyperliquid quite a bit. Yeah, Hyperliquid has been really looking good for a while. How about this? Bitmine's Ethereum holdings now over 1.7 million tokens, 562 million of buying power still remaining for Tom Lee and company. That's Bitmine Immersion Technologies, the public Ethereum treasury company led by Tom Lee, continuing its buying spree, acquiring 190,500 tokens through the last week. Crazy. So their current ETH holdings are worth 7.9 billion at current ETH prices. The firm held 562 million in cash for further acquisitions as well. The company said its crypto and cash holdings combined hit 8.8 billion as of late Sunday, when Ethereum was 4,800. That's up from the previous week of 6.6 billion. Crazy. They added 2.2 billion in a week. But the overnight crypto market plunge brought the stash's value back down as ETH fell below 4,600. We're back above 46 right now on ETH, which is good. Sitting at 46.50. Holding up pretty well here. I mean, this is not a time to panic, guys. I mean, a little bit of a sell-off, no doubt about it, but we set all-time highs yesterday. It was a big day for ETH. I thought we'd get to the 5K range. I thought we'd at least breach that number, but we didn't. It's okay. I mean, we still look really, really solid. We're now 6.5% down from our all-time high set 18 hours ago, but I think it's clear that the rotation from Bitcoin to Ethereum is certainly happening right now. We've got Bitcoin dominance still down here at 57.4%. For a long, long time, we could not get Bitcoin dominance, down below 60%. Alberto, good morning to you, man. Both XRP and XLM have moves similar in percentage. Yep, I like XLM as well. I own XRP, XLM, and HBAR. I'll put Chainlink in this category too, as just another asset that I really like that I think is still very undervalued. It's back down 5.2%. So, finally Chainlink moved pretty violently too, in a good way. Here in the last month, we're up 33%. Still look really, really good. We're on some kind of local support right now. This is kind of a crucial level just locally to hold here for Chainlink. So we'll continue to monitor that. But you could see kind of the upward trend we've been in since Chainlink was down there at $11. And Chainlink's one of these assets, man. It's an infrastructure play. It's embedded into the RWA space. It's, partnered with all of the big players, the giants. But yeah, XRP, XLM, HBAR, Chainlink, Ondo, all of those are in my portfolio. What's Dogecoin price this fall, in your opinion? It's tough to tell, man. I do think we're going to go up and retest all-time highs. I said Doge to 75 cents by the end of the year. And these were pretty conservative bets. And I put this out there. It got a lot of traction. It got a lot of people, commenting in. I said end of the year targets. And I should have put on here, like, these are kind of baseline, XRP to 450, ETH to 6,200, BNB to 1,500, ADA back to 3, Sol to 3,300, Doge to 75 cents. These are like some roundabout numbers that I'm looking at, right? And I've got profit taking kind of troughs at different levels where I'm like slowly but surely scaling out of some various plays. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But I'm going to go ahead and start our Crypto Breakfast Club show, guys, and we'll get the show on the road here with that, and then we'll listen in and have some other people weigh in. Of course, you guys can stay right here and listen to the show. Let's see here. Let me just start this thing real quick. Appreciate everybody being here too. We'll take a look at some other charts too. If you guys want me to, let me know what you guys are looking at or what you want us to look at. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, boom. Let's start it up. Okay, we'll skip that. We got to send a quick text. Started. There we go. All right. Let's see. Who else we got here? Let's see. What's up, Z? We need regulation in the Clarity Act. Yeah, and we need it. We need it, Chevy, before these ETF deadlines come up. That's going to be the key. We got a lot of those ETF deadlines coming up in October. Like October 18th is one that I know off the top of my head. That's the Grayscale XRP ETF deadline, October 18th. Pretty much from October 18th to the end of October, we've got some really, really big dates, and hopefully we get the Clarity Act through before then. We'll put this phone on the charger there. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. Let's go. Altcoin season yet? I think it's early stages, Alberto. I think we are in the early stages of it. That's my opinion. Welcome from Cyprus. What's going on, man? Any iOS 22 token will do great for the long term. Yeah, and especially I think this cycle. I think Cardano looks really good here too still. It's been coming up slowly but surely for a while. Let's see what Cardano's chart looks like. This is the 30-minute. Man, we sold off pretty good, huh? Giving a lot of those gains back, but still I think we're definitely still in a broader uptrend. And you guys can see here, we've been on a nice little upward move here on Cardano. I mean, basically since we bottomed down in July, it came down to 53 cents. You could see we're still forming higher lows here. So as long as we don't break this 85-cent level here on Cardano, we're still in a broader uptrend. They never stop grabbing the liquidity. They control the flow of it all. 100%, Oak. Like that's, you nailed it. You nailed it right there. It's exactly what's going on. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Modern Creep here. I think you've just got to own a good portion of these, I call them institutional tokens, right? They're the tokens and coins where I think the institutions are going to flock to next. That's really what we're trying to do. Now it's it's speculative. We're making educated guesses. We don't know for sure what's going to happen. But if we're making solid educated guesses, I'm going to be doing that on, ISO compliant cryptos that are US based, cryptos that are working in the areas of tokenization. That's where I'm going to go. Love Caspa too. And it's kind of in a class of its own, right? Given that it's proof of work built on the Bitcoin consensus model. I still have a good chunk of Caspa that I'm holding long term. I started accumulating like 3 or 4 cents down there. So I'm happy with where we are still with CAS. It's been quiet, but I do think it'll have another run in it for sure. If we get ETFs, institutional money in before year ends, those numbers shall go up. 100%, Alan. Yep, I couldn't agree more. All right, let's jump on the space here. Let's see let's see what's going on over there on the Crypto Breakfast Club. What do you guys say here? Let's listen in here. All right, let me get audio set up here. All right, we're good on that front. So let's do this. Let's share this room. And if you guys could help us share this Crypto Breakfast Club, we're going to be live streaming it across the board. I'm going to drop it in the comment sections, and you guys can come on in here and you could stay right here and listen in. Let's see here. They're going to throw us a microphone here. Best to have multiple bags, some to hold for long term, some to sell on the way up, so you can ride with no cost out of pocket. Like that strategy a lot there. Yeah. That's usually what I do too with a lot of the top assets. I'm doing that with XRP and ETH for sure. So yeah, definitely feel you there. But let's see here. I've got to. Good morning, everybody. We're live on the Crypto Breakfast Club. We're live on YouTube, live on X, live on Rumble. What's going on? Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me on the space. Just making sure we're coming in clean here. Can you guys hear me? All right. I think Pade's coming back in on his main account, but market's selling off a little bit here after an amazing day Friday, and definitely some market manipulation happening. But we're getting ready here. We just had market open. We'll see what happens. Bitcoin down to 111 and some change here, down 3%. So Ethereum continues to hold up much better right now, still above 4,600, about 6% down from all-time highs. I thought we'd get to $5,000. We got really close. The good thing here is we're still in our range. Bitcoin dominance still at 57%. Like nothing's really changed here. We're still within our range as long as we kind of hold some crucial levels here on Bitcoin. I've been saying this for a while. Like as long as Bitcoin holds 110, we're still in the upper tier range. This is just another liquidity grab, guys. We talk about it all the time, right? These are the powers that be grabbing liquidity. And you just got to ride these waves. Like for us as retail investors, you just have to ride these waves. don't get too caught up in the headlines and the storylines that say, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, sell all your crypto. That's the key here. Don't get washed out. But there's no doubt we went up, set some all-time highs, and they're grabbing some liquidity back. It's just kind of the name of the game right now. We did have some interesting news come out over the weekend. I mentioned this already on the live stream, but I'll mention it here again. Ondo's coming out with tokenized stocks utilizing Ethereum. I think it launches September 3rd. So that's pretty big. And then just recently, this morning, Grayscale getting ready to move and convert their Avalanche Trust into an Avalanche spot ETF. So that will be interesting. Tons of deadlines for ETFs coming up in October. October 18th, I know, is the date on the XRP ETF. So the hope is we get the Clarity Act pushed through before we get to October. That's going to be crucial. And it was interesting. I was actually doing a video this weekend, and a couple big name people were saying how crucial it is that we get the Clarity Act pushed through before October. Charles Hoskinson was one of them. And it was good to see that, because that's something we've been talking about now for a really, really long time. Just from a timeline standpoint, that's what I think we need. We need this Clarity Act through, and then it opens the door and the floodgates for these ETFs to get approved. I think that's why they're being delayed as well, right? Because a lot of what needs to be done is going to be done in that Clarity Act. But welcome into the show, everybody. Appreciate you all for being here. We got tons of people listening live on YouTube, tons of people listening live on X as well to the space, and we've got some folks over on Rumble. So shout out to everybody who's listening across the board. If you guys could help us share the space, if you're here on the space, make sure you hit us with a repost. We've only got 10 reposts. Fire up that purple pill. And if you're listening on all the live streams, make sure you guys do your part and help us out. Spread the word here. But Paid, what's going on, man? Hopefully you had a good weekend. What's happening? I can't hear Paid. Can you guys hear Paid?
I can't hear him.
You cannot? Okay.
Cannot.
Maybe he's having some technical issues. But yeah, what's going on, bro? How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. I took some chill time yesterday. Got some gaming in going, and I'm excited about this Avalanche ETF that made my morning, and I'm just bullish. How are you? How was your weekend?
Good, man. Can't complain. Had a pretty good weekend myself. Kind of checked out of the market a little bit. Went to a baseball game, so that was cool. Went to a market, walked around a little bit on Saturday, hit some markets, hit some stands and stuff like that. But yeah, it was good, man. And then kind of checked back in yesterday just to kind of see where we were heading for today. And ready to lock in for a new week. We're getting close to turning the page here to September. A lot of optimism now heading into September with the potential interest rate cuts coming. So definitely excited about where we're heading here. And, while there's going to be some short-term volatility and instability and manipulation and all that, I think it's clear we're still in a much better spot than we were, earlier this year. And we're heading into I think, the final quarter of the year, which should be really, really good for crypto. So I feel good about where I'm at. I'm well positioned, and I hope everybody else is kind of, already positioning themselves in the assets they want to be in. I was just mentioning this on the top of the live stream. We went live here like 15 minutes before the space, just talking about, anything that kind of fits a couple of these key narratives: ISO compliant, US based, RWA focused. This is where I'm trying to be, because this is where I think the institutions are coming in next. We're talking about XRP, we're talking about Ethereum, of course. We're talking about HBAR, Ondo, XLM, Algorand, Chainlink, Avalanche, SWI. These type of assets is really where I'm, heavily focused, and I feel really good about it. Heading into, what should be a really exciting final quarter here of 2025. So I'm fired up, man. I'm excited, well positioned, but also, understanding like we can't get too high and too low. Friday was one of those days where you get like really, really, tilted one way and you get super excited, and then all of a sudden Monday morning rolls around and there's a little bit of a sell off, and you just got to be even keel right now in this market. You got to be kind of emotionless in a lot of ways and understand the games that are being played, right? Understand that we can't control it. The only thing we can control are our plans and our goals, and making sure we're positioning ourselves the way we want to be positioned, and having a plan to win, when certain prices and targets are met on various assets that we own. So that's it. I mean, just focus on the task at hand, kind of taking it, very business like, if you will, this go around, and just not letting the emotions get in the way. So that's kind of where I'm at with my thoughts here this morning.
I think that's well said, Zach. There's definitely a lot of manipulation at play, and with the market and on CT. But let's not get our emotions in our investments or anything, and let's think positive, and we have good things to look forward to. I feel good today, so thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, man. And I mean, here's the thing. Ethereum looks phenomenal. I mean, we have been in a broader uptrend since late April, guys. I mean, it's hard to believe, right? But Ethereum was under $1,600 in April. Under $1,600 in April. And now we're at 4,600. So we have continued. I mean, if you look at the weekly chart on ETH, it looks phenomenal. So a little bit of a pullback here after all-time highs. Completely normal. Completely normal. It's exactly what we should see. And this is just part of the bigger process that's going to take us into uncharted territory. I still like Ethereum 7 to 10K. I've been saying that since the bear market. Those are still my levels. We'll see if we go higher. Great, but I still love ETH to eventually this cycle push into that 7 to 10K range. Some people are calling 11, 12, 13, 14, 15K. If it gets there, I'm not going to be mad about it, obviously, but I will be pulling off, a little bit off the olive branch, if you will, once we hit, some key targets. My first target is, a little bit over 6K, where I'll start to realize some gains and make sure I win the trades this cycle. That's it, and if we continue to go higher, I'll continue to scale out slowly and put another win in the win column, right? And so I think you've got to have a plan, though. If you're just in it and you're just saying it's going to go up, and eventually I'll make a move, I'm telling you, it's tough, man. It's tough to pull that trigger, when you don't have a strict plan. But we got Zach down here as well. A bunch of people coming up. Please request a mic if you guys want to. Share the space. Appreciate everybody being here. A bunch of people listening live as well. Up over 1,100 people now live with us, which is awesome. Shout out to everybody listening in. Zach, what's going on, bro? What's happening?
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man, we got you.
Okay, cool. Man, I was so on that FOMO. I had my finger on the sell button for Ethereum. It happened very fast, the all-time high. And then, I usually, when I do that, I'm ready to sell it, right? There's no going back. I'm going to hit that button, win the trade. Fuck it. I need to make this money, right? But something in me said, hold off. And that's because of, I think, Q4, maybe interest rate cuts. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. Usually I go and completely do what I say I'm going to do, right? But this time around, I didn't sell the Ethereum. My gut feeling said, just don't sell it. Wait a little bit longer. And I know that's pretty bad advice because usually when you get a good trade, you sell it. But I just don't think we're there yet. I think we will go back up again. And I just, I feel like we got a couple more months ahead of us for Ethereum and alt, right? I think the institution saw how fast it was moving, and they totally manipulated it real fast because that was fast. It hit the all-time high and then retraced really quickly. So I guess just holding tight really is my play at the moment for that kind of play. And I'm like, I could get out of this. I could get out of Ethereum, throw it into something else, but doesn't mean that's going to run. So I'm going to be happy with the 2, 3, 4x off of that and secure the win, right? And not try to chase that 10 to 20x. I'm just not there right now. I think the market has a lot of room to grow within the next couple months. So it's crazy. I kind of went against what I usually do. And I don't know, my gut instinct said just hold off for a little bit. So I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but that's kind of how I feel, because we don't truly know if we're going to get the interest rate cuts. If we don't, then I'll probably lose a, X or two and probably get out of that position. But at the moment, I feel like just have this gut feeling we're about to take off, and I think they need to get in a better position before they really let that the institutions let this thing run, right? So complete manipulation. That's kind of what we've been seeing. But overall, I actually zoomed out the other night. I was in bed doing some great work, innovating and all kinds of stuff. And I zoomed out of the charts and I went and looked at Bitcoin. I looked at Ethereum and I said, yeah, this isn't the right time. Like I became level-headed and I looked at the history of everything again. And I'm like, it's just not there yet. Like retail's not back. I don't know if they're coming this cycle. People are strapped with money, but the institutions are holding up everything. So I feel like they got a little bit more in them to raise this market, which we're all pretty much front run them. So I'm going to hold off a little bit, and I will take my exits probably in a couple months or so. And that's kind of where I'm going at. So that basically didn't scare me. It kind of just made me think more logical that I don't think it's time for me to hit that sell Ethereum button, basically, is what I'm saying. So it was overall a great weekend. Got a lot of great stuff done. Watched the market. The all-time high was insane. Did anyone ever hit your X post that got the date right or the price or whatever?
Yeah,
I forgot what you put up.
there were quite a few winners, and I was going through, and I got to continue to go through today, and I'll pick a winner here. But I think there were a number of people. Now, there were some people who did it right after it hit it. Those people will not be qualified. They try to sneak it in there, right as it happened or after it happened. But there were some people who called it before it happened. So I'm looking through all of those, making sure we'll pick a lucky winner from there. But yeah, it was awesome, man. But I'm with you 100%, Zach. Like, here's the thing, too, that people got to realize, these interest rate cuts, they don't just help retail. You know what I mean? So like I think we were always, that's usually the big narrative, right? Like how interest rate cuts are going to help retail, which it will, but it also helps the big institutions. And the big institutions are what's driving this market right now. The big institutions are the ones that are swaying the market one direction or the other, that can really push the boundaries here. So the immediate effects that we get from rate cuts, I think that's when we see things really, really take off, right? And because all of a sudden businesses can borrow more easily, right? Consumers can take out loans easier, right? For all purchases across the board. And obviously, when anytime you have cheaper borrowing, you're going to see more spending and more investing, more focus on the risky quote unquote assets. And there's no doubt it's going to boost the demand for crypto, both on the retail side and again on the institutional side. So if you're looking for like a time period in terms of like when to maybe scale out, or if you're already up on your trades, like, Zach, like I'm using your example, like it sounds like you're already up on ETH and it's like, it just set all-time highs, but I'm not ready yet. And I may be talking for you here and you could speak on this, but it feels like you're probably thinking, well, they haven't even cut interest rates yet. We haven't even got to this point where, the institutions could really go hard here once they cut. And if you're looking at it like that, it's like maybe after the first or second cut, and if we see ETH get up over 6K or something, that might be a good, first trough just to scale out a little bit and lock in some profits maybe,
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. I'm like 100K up and I'm like, do I pull now? Do I wait? What should I do? And then like, it's just not there yet for me. Like, the summer is winding down here. People are getting back to work. Money's going to start flowing. They cut those rates. I could see, that even going up another, 2 or 3x. And even if it hits a 2x, my being consistent, paying attention, and not catching the FOMO just because it hit all-time high, I think is a real meal ticket. Just being level-headed in the game and look at what's happening in the world and where I think things are going. And for me, you're right. It's just not there yet. I feel like we're going to test this again. We will maybe go over it. People, the FOMO will kick in, and maybe those shorts will there'll be so many shorts that get liquidated that it just pushes Ethereum to a whole nother level. And with interest rates, if they do cut it, then we can see maybe altcoins really moving. And that's when I'll take the risk and sell it, because that'll probably be the not start of the collapse, but the start of, the retracement of Ethereum, because they're being moved into the, high risk assets. So I think we got another 2 or 3x out of this. I'm not saying this isn't financial advice. This is just me looking at where, November, December will be. And I think November is going to be a great month. Honestly, it was bullish what Powell said. People definitely capitalized on it, traders and stuff. I mean, the shorts that got liquidated is the reason the market's really moved like crazy. But these institutions are still buying. I'm really watching what they're doing. And when they stop buying, that will be the top signal for me. Honestly, it's not retail, it's the institutional money. If I see them really start to taper off and sell, that is my top signal on this cycle, because they are really driving this narrative, this whole cycle. So just paying attention, trying to just be smart and level-headed.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I think, you look at like some of these treasury companies, like Tom Lee with Ethereum right now. I'll tell you another kind of signal that I'm going to be looking for, toward the end of this, is when those treasury companies start losing big, right? And then they're forced to liquidate, right? So like, it's kind of like, it's kind of a risky proposition, honestly, these treasury companies, and so just keep your eyes on that. Right now, everybody's riding high, and I think this is going to continue for a while. But once that like narrative kind of flips and the treasury companies aren't looking as hot, that's another kind of signal that, hey, maybe we're going to get ready here for some type of bear market. What the bear market looks like this time, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be different for sure. We've talked about this quite a bit too. Are we still in 4-year cycles? The more I'm reading lately, a lot of the experts out there think we're heading into an elongated run here because of the macro and because of all the things at play with tariffs that are kind of kicking the can down the road. ETFs. We have all these catalysts that we know are coming, but they keep getting kicked down the road. The can keeps getting kicked down the road, and it's leading us perhaps into 2026. We're still waiting for the full rotation of capital to happen. By this time, usually in traditional cycles, we've already seen a full-fledged altcoin season, right? And we haven't yet. Like, we're just now slowly but surely getting the rotation from Bitcoin to ETH. I mean, Bitcoin dominance has been over 60% for a really long ass time. And now finally, Ethereum's starting to slowly, show its strength and flex its muscles a little bit. So it does feel a little different this time, especially with the ETFs and just kind of where we are. And obviously the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, all these big regulatory moves that are happening. It's not a normal cycle, regardless if it's a 4-year cycle or not. It's not a normal cycle. It's different. It's very different than the last cycle. The last cycle was driven by retail. It was driven by FOMO. It was driven by people at home. It was a perfect storm, right? People had excess money because they were getting government checks. People were, locked in to this new opportunity and the whole thing. Now we've moved from that to the institutions want this as their own, and they're coming in heavy. They're manipulating things. They're basically knocking out longs and shorts whenever they want. And so if you're still here as a retail investor, you got to understand this is a different environment, and this game is played different now. You've got to be able to hold your ground or accumulate with them. Accumulate with them.
And Zach, the market is more mainstream now. Like, as much as we want to deny it, like, it's out there. I mean, it's on Fox News. Like, people are looking at the Bitcoin chart. And then also you got to think of the saturation of projects too. There's money in the market, but it's tied up in, smaller cap gems just sitting there. Like there is money. It's not directed to a couple assets. There's a multiple variety of assets within this game. RWAs, AI plays, shitcoins, utility plays. Like the money's just sitting there and everyone is waiting for their thing to move. And that's a tough situation to be in too. Like the competition is just insane, right? So that's why, playing some of the top plays that have skin in the game is maybe a great, play. Not everything's going to move, but there's money stuck. So it's not like there's not any money in the market. It's just, Pump Fund helped create this saturation, and all these other developers and projects. Like to click a button and launch a token, you didn't have that in 2021. You had to pay a developer $20K to make a real contract. Right now, it's literally, I call it microwave tokens. Push one button and boom, you got a project. So the saturation also has a lot to play within the way the market moves too. Like, because a lot of that money would be funneled towards certain things like SHIB, Doge. You know what I mean? Like you had a couple groups that funneled the money into these couple projects. Now you got tons of money funneled into a big saturation of tokens. So we also got to watch that. So
And Zach, the other thing I failed to mention here, and you guys have probably saw this too, because you guys are all locked into like, I just glossed over this, but I mentioned it before I came on with the Breakfast Club. I mentioned it to the audience that was already here. But a Bitcoin whale sold 24,000 Bitcoin, guys. That was the catalyst for these forced liquidations. And again, that just goes right into this market manipulation that's happening. They can move this market. They can press a button whenever they want. But us, we can't like get too high and too low when these sort of things happen, right? Now, here's the good thing. The big whale that sold the 24,000 Bitcoin, which I think was to the tune of like 2.2 billion, they didn't sell and get out of the market completely. That money went into Ethereum, guys. So there you go, right? So some whale takes 2.2 billion off the table and rotates it into Ethereum. That should get you excited. That should get you to think, okay, maybe the rotation here is really happening. This is the start, the beginning of altcoin season. Because when a whale makes that kind of move, you got to pay attention, right? And this is what I mean. You got to just stay locked in and look at things for what they are. Don't let the noise and all the hoopla, get in your head, and that's when you start making poor decisions. But Jacob, I want to get your thoughts, man. I see your hand up. We got a bunch of other speakers here. Appreciate everybody being up here and joining us. Jacob, what's going on, man?
Hey, Zach. Hey, everyone. Hey, Paid. Yeah, good to be here. I was just thinking on all this, and like, I think there's this thought, right, that when the market pumps, then my token's gonna pump, and I think Intelligent Capital is a lot more aware of, okay, which protocols are generating revenue, which products are actually getting adoption, and it's going to be a lot more about this idea that there's some impending bull run coming, and that we're not just like in the middle of a continuous sort of bull cycle, right? As we range between all-time highs and then going to 100, maybe not hitting 100, maybe just dipping below 100. But all this extra liquidity is flowing down to other tokens that are getting adoption, and protocols and products that are actually getting user adoption. And I think it's really just about finding the right tools to scan on chain to see which of these protocols are getting adoption and kind of getting ahead of the liquidity as liquidity moves between different ecosystems, different tokens. And that's where the real value in those 10, 100 X's can come from in the coming year. And I really think it's this sort of move away from, are we going to go all the way into a bear market? Are we going to go all the way into a bull market? There's too much entrenched capital and it's older capital, right? This institutional capital that's coming in, they don't necessarily want a 2X, right? They're happy with a 5 or 10% gain. And so if we get a 5 or 10% gain, then of course we're going to see a dump of 5 or 10% or even 15%, because that's the market makers taking their profits off the table. And we should be expecting that and be able to kind of play those ranges intelligently, not financial advice, but just like kind of know that's what's going to happen, right? A push goes up a little bit too high, the leverage in the system makes it even go a little bit higher. People think we're on a bull run that's going to continue forever. And then all of that liquidity kind of switches sides into, sell leverage. And then of course it just drops down immediately and some whales start dumping the market. And then of course it pushes it down again and to trigger all the buy pressure people, all the bulls that were like, oh, it's got to go right back up right away. Well, no, we got to go take all that liquidity off the market first, and down, liquidated. Okay, now we've liquidated all the money in the market. Now it's time to go back up again and hit a new all-time high. And I think it's just about being aware of that cycle and that trend, so you can profit off of it.
Couldn't agree more, man. And it feels like it's almost programmed now with the institutions, right? You can kind of guess exactly, what's going to happen, because they're moving all the markets. They're pushing all the buttons. One other quick little story. I see Storm wants to jump in. We'll go right to Storm. Gemini is doing some interesting things. The exchange with the XRP community. They've got a new credit card that's supposed to go live today, expanding Ripple USD use for U.S. customers. Kind of interesting, a cashback opportunity there for XRP. I guess it was marketed all over New York City, which was kind of fascinating. So that's supposed to go live today. That's another little tidbit for you. But Storm, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. Hi, Zach, Paige, Mutasco, and everyone. I have a data point for you all. I've had a business line of credit for 29 years with one of the 4 major U.S. banks. And out of nowhere, last week, I found out that they just up and closed my business line of credit for no reason. I've always paid on time. I've always paid it off. 124K gone, just like that. So that has happened. I had a major talk with them. And they had absolutely no reasons for me as to why, other than to say that this has happened to many of the bank holders that have anywhere between over 100 to 200K business lines of credit. So this is very interesting, the timing of it, the fact that this is happening. I was middle class. I owned, 3 restaurants, wellness centers, just always in service businesses all these years. And it's either literally they're just getting rid of all middle class or anyone who's trying to still survive in this economy, or I have no idea, but apparently Mutasco has many ideas. So as usual, I just came up to give you guys this data point. That this happened and is happening. So if you all have business lines of credit that you've had like me for over 29 years, look out for it, because they're just sending a letter in the mail that no one reads anymore, and no one contacts you. Where's the relationship? Zero. And I told them, I said, when I'm ever back to be in a position again to get my life back and start my businesses all up, that I will make sure that no one that I know banks with them, and no one will ever support them. And I will, when I'm ready, share which bank that is. If you'd like, I will be happy to privately share that with you, but publicly on a recorded space, I will not at the moment. So just watch yourselves if you guys have these, and start having a conversation with your personal bankers. And hence why I always, as a businesswoman of well over 38 years, my father taught me a long time ago, it was always best to use smaller banks and work with smaller banks. Every time I had a smaller bank that I worked with, I always had great customer service, great relationship. Everything was always taken care of. But as soon as those smaller banks got eaten up by the bigger banks, they just don't give a shit. But of course, Wells Fargo can easily go make 1,000, a million accounts under your name, get all this money that they did, get in trouble, pay off whatever, they're in trouble for. But no, they don't get in trouble here. So I just wanted to share that with you and your community, Zach, to be mindful of what's going on, because this just happened to me. Those letters went out July 30th. I never received one. I did receive the August 12th letter, but they also lied there that the letter was dated July 30th. So it was well past that. So go ahead.
This is why Bitcoin solves that. 100% liquid asset, borrow against it. Exchange will give you the money because they don't need to worry that you need to go get this asset. You have it. It's liquid. This is why the game's going to change in the favor of Bitcoin and the store value, right? So you're already providing that asset that's already worth as much as whatever the market's worth of Bitcoin. They don't need to worry that 10, 12 months from now, you might make up that payment. You might do this. This is why I think Bitcoin is the game changer when it comes to, needing that kind of money that you need for your small business. I'm a small business. I mean, I own a multi-million-dollar hotel. We still need to take loans out. If they ever did that, we would be crushed. So this is why I accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can to be able to borrow against that and have that asset ready to go if need be. So this is definitely a learning point, I think, for people. You can hate me on it. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I just see the value in holding that asset that's completely liquid.
Thank you for your perspective. I really appreciate it. But most of us who have lost everything have really a hard time getting Bitcoin at this stage. Perhaps 4 years ago, maybe we could have when we were all literally getting rug pulled by the whole government and COVID and everything that happened and wiped out. Maybe we could have, but most people just weren't awake enough. So that's the problem. But I do agree with you. I think you should be well diversified if you are in a positive financial position, or at least monthly having gains of some sort, to allocate a percentage of your gains into your choosing of your asset. But the majority of people are really suffering. But thank you, Zach. I agree with you, but I'm not in that position, unfortunately, anymore.
Real quick, Storm, that sucks. Let me guess, they offered you to go into a 1-year CD at 2%, and they asked you if you wanted a credit card for 25% interest.
Sir, they did not give me any choices of anything. They just closed me up and pretty much said, have a nice day, okay? They did not give me anything. They could have said, oh, we are creating digital wallets. Let's create this business line of credit and make it a digital whatever, or come up with something for me. I've been a customer 29 years, loyal 29 years. This is absolutely, utterly out of my brain cannot even wrap around it at all. Because it was a life string. These business lines of credit all of these years were literally life strings. Sometimes the roof collapsed, sometimes things happen, and you really needed it. And so all to say, just you guys, literally, if you have anything like that, you need to be mindful. So I'll let Matasco go and whoever's next. But Zach, thank you so much for bringing me up to share this important data point for you.
Hey, Storm, I got a quick question.
Sure.
Sorry to hear what you're going through, and obviously these big banks don't care about they don't care about anybody. We're just stats. I'm curious to know, have you spoke to anybody, any other your business partners or business in your network that uses the same bank?
Yes. This has happened to them too. Yes. Wow. The bank, I said, how many people has this happened to? And they've said we've selected so far 800 people in the month of July and growing. They actually gave me that data point too, which was very odd.
Did you use your account, your business accounts for any kind of Web3 cryptocurrency?
No, never. Never. Are you kidding me? No way. Not at all. I'm not dumb. Not at all. Strictly for business. Yeah.
Sorry to hear, Storm.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. I just really want everybody else to watch their banks and check in and make sure you guys, God forbid, if you have it and you don't know, and you know, you write a check to cover something, and all of a sudden, you know, they flag your account, and then they, you know, negative your personal business checking accounts, and they close them, and they're doing all of these things. So just, yeah, Mataska, I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
No, I just wanted to let you know, this was probably like 2023. I was in this room of like some really high level bankers, right? And it's interesting that you brought this up because this was over 2 years ago. And I'll say this to everyone. If you're in business, this is just an opinion based on, you know, people who are in the industry. Just to give you a perspective, I posted a few things in the comment section also. The economy may be faked a certain way. Just be careful. And this is what would happen when there could be expectation of some recession in 2026, 2027. That's where people are looking at, right? Who knows? But the banks don't wait until the red light is on. They take preemptive actions, right? In January, I think it was the Federal Reserve, they have this opinion survey that they do regarding like credit situations, right? And that kind of, just to give you a perspective, like in January, before January, the level of kind of stress that is in small businesses, and you know, I call them like the survey is usually around senior and junior loans, right? And the report, and anybody can pull up this report, by the way, it's from the Federal Reserve from January. And it says that if you compare, we're like prior quarters, we're at 4.8%, right? And this is just to say how many banks in the US are tightening their credit lending standards, right? And we went from 4.8 to 12.5. So let's start there. This is generally, and I'm not the one talking about this, this is from the Federal Reserve. Now, why is that important as a data point? So let's say you're a small business, right? You're focused on just running your business, so you don't even care about macro. You're not listening to, okay, what's going on in the economy, from mortgage loans to credit cards to bankruptcies. They're at 14-year high levels. So if you're somebody who's not paying attention to those data points, what I'm saying is nonsense to you. But what would come and hit you by surprise is what just happened to Storm. These are factual data points, by the way. Now, I don't care what Trump is doing. I don't care what the administration is doing. Underneath the economy, there's a lot of cracks. These are factual data points that you can go look up if you want, right? You don't just say, well, we're at 14-year high on commercial real estate. I mean, this is a bubble. In fact, there's a report in Congress that says, I don't remember the senator's name. He says, this is a ticking time bomb. Just Google ticking time bomb, and that article will pop up and you read it, right? That's number one. Number two, there's the credit cards, right? As everybody knows. So why are banks concerned and they're taking these actions? There's a little trick, and I'm not giving anybody financial advice, right? If you're sitting on, say, for example, you have a house, you took a home equity line of credit, okay? The bank is literally taking money somewhere to give you, okay? Now, if the bank, I'm just a Joe Blow, and I can read these data points. You think Wells Fargo doesn't have the information? They do. Now, if they do, what they do is, and every bank has what they call the risk management department, right? They're like legal counsel for companies, right? Yes, is it a security or is it a commodity? You know, just stay out of it. Don't list it. This happened to Coinbase and some of these U.S. exchanges. The same kind of thinking applies to banks. The risk management department, I mean, these people are playing like, if you think crypto, we do degen, they do degen on steroid. So the risk is usually that, okay, what happens if the economy, all of a sudden we get an official announcement that the economy is in a recession? everybody is gonna just panic. Now, if the bank has money in the pipeline to people, they're not gonna get payment. What do you think will happen? Defaults will escalate. So the actions they're taking is a preemptive action. There's a bank called Dexia Bank. They went through a stress test. This was prior to 2008. These are all reports that you can go look up yourself, by the way. What I'm saying is, and this is my last point, it's not surprising, Storm, and it will continue. And this is all based on data points that showed back in 2024. These cracks were already showing up in 2024. So if I was somebody that runs a small business and I have a line of credit for maybe $1 million, the problem with line of credit is when you're given the line of credit and you're somebody who is savvy about macro, move the money, okay? Because if you don't use the money, they have the power to take it back. They'll just cancel the line, right? But if you're somebody who's savvy with the economy, know what's coming, and you actually really need this money to keep your business running, tap into it. It's okay. You can tap into the money because God forbid, if you don't take the money, some people are worried, like, once I take it, I'm going to stop paying. It's okay, pay. Because the clock will start running on you. And for that reason, people don't want to tap into it. They just leave it. Now, if you leave it, that's the bank's money. They can always take it back. And why would they take it back? They take it back when things are getting really scary. Watch out what's going to happen. The Fed is about to do the rate cut thing. For the first time, we're seeing that the employment data and CPI will happen before the meeting. So maybe Jerome Powell was front running something. I don't know. Okay. So when the panic sets in, as you guys know, we have what we call the plunge protection team and all that crap. The government always has tools to stop the bleeding. So you may see a dip, but then they'll wake it up, right? Before you finish lacing your shoes, they would have figured out some things. But what usually happens is the bigger banks always get protected. They get backstopped. The little guy, okay, if you're a small business like Storm, right, you are actually impacting the real economy. They don't give a F, okay? You're gonna go through it for the next 5 years to recover. It's unfortunate, but that's just how these people behave. They don't care. They care about their money. They care about their extractive models. That's all they do. So all I'm saying is the little trick, and I learned this from sitting in some spaces. This is 2 years ago. And somebody specifically laid out, this was a mid to large size business. They had like commercial loans, like large amounts of money. And they had to learn it the hard way. This is prior to 2008. And I learned that and I said, oh, okay, I didn't know that was actually a trick, right? If you have a line of credit and we're heading into like some really difficult uncertainty that could be triggered through maybe the labor market, or because inflation, as you guys heard Jerome Powell, he literally went from inflation to labor. This guy, for all the several meetings that he's had, you always hear him say the labor market is solid. And now all of a sudden he's saying there's something going on. And I've posted some information, by the way. There's what we call the WARN Act, right? I saw a data point that shows that the WARN notices were actually up. So what it's telling me is that there's a lot of layoffs that have not been factored in the job market yet. And it may take 6 months down the line. It may take 12 months down the line. Now, guys, we're looking at 2026. So for those predicting like some, dooms in 2026, they may be right. 2027, maybe it will be early 2027. But do not discount it. And that's all I have to say. But remember, Storm, you just learned the hard way. If you ever get a credit line, or if you have other ones in other banks, this is the moment, okay? Move the money, because once you activate it, the money is cash in your bank account. The bank cannot take that money back, Okay, I don't care if the bank is going through trouble, but if they see that it's like a stop loss, right? You have the money sitting there, it's a line of credit, and it makes you happy. Yeah, they're gonna like what they just did this weekend, right? The liquidity grab that Zach was talking about. They shake it up, and there's a buy side liquidity and there's a sell side liquidity. In fact, it's a good thing that we're seeing. That means the institutions are getting large orders, and they're making sure that there's no slippage. These are all good things for the market. It means that we're headed into a volatile market. There's volatility short term. I saw Ethereum do 4,900. I'm happy. Okay, as long as Ethereum stays at 4K, it's cool. Okay, I don't care about the dips and that, because I know the institutions are working, which is good. We need them in the market because that is what brings liquidity. So for me, all I can say is if you're in this room, and guys, I'm not an expert in this. I just read and I hear people who are also experts that have shared, and this is 3-year knowledge, by the way. So the fact that you're saying this, I'm just giving you a signal. If you're in this room, you have a credit line, this is the moment you want to start, activate it. Maybe you can put 10% of that into Bitcoin. Or you can put it obviously start with Bitcoin. So you put it in anything. Because bear in mind, if we do get what the predictions are, let's say it's 400K or 300K. I'm not even on that range. I'm like, if we go 250, it's great. Okay? And that's just based on data. But if it's 250 and you're buying 110, your 10% allocation in it, right? Whatever amount you're putting in, you could actually pay down your line of credit and own the money. There's so many things you could do, but don't just sit on it and say, you know what, the market is bad. I don't know what to do with the money. They will take it back, okay? Because they have the data. We don't. They do have the data. They pay a lot of money for it, and they know that whatever you're hearing is not the reality. And so I'm worried for the economy, maybe 2027. The politics of 2026 is going to be chaotic. So our opportunity is kind of little tight, right? The Q4 thing is real. And we'll see what happens after that. But again, Storm, sorry to hear that, but it's just the game that these guys play, right? And that's why I just hate the banks. I'm so glad we have crypto, because you can off-ramp into these, right? Aave, Compound, all these loan lending protocols that exist in crypto. This is our lifeline, right? It is our lifeline. And in some way, a year, 5 years from now, you're going to find out what we're just talking about. It will become a reality. And anybody that is crypto native, you don't need to go to the bank, right? You can work out your ways with some of these providers and run your business, right? Sorry to hear it, but guys, if you're here and you have a line of credit, this may be the time to start figuring out what you could do with it, right? Don't just sit there and say, well, it's a line of credit, I can tap into it anytime. They will take it back. There's thousands of reports out there from 2008 that you can go read and understand before the housing market started collapsing, right? Because some people know and they have the information. They're patient. They know what's going to happen, right? This morning I was in the finance space. George Noble, he did a lot of posts. I've reposted them. Go read them also. And you can see what is going on underneath. Don't listen to an influencer that's telling you one thing or the other. Go to the source and read it. Again, go pull up the Federal Reserve's, senior loan officer survey, read that, and it will tell you everything you need to know about, the state of the economy underneath.
Thank you, Matasco. I wish I'd known this information before. I really appreciate you, but good that everybody else gets to hear it. Thank you.
Believe it or not, that's what I was kind of saying. But Oscar just does it better. They want that money, that access to that line of credit, that they can put it out there for higher interest gains. My family's been in the banking business. I own part of a bank, and so I've seen all that stuff happen before. They need to make higher interest rates and take advantage of that, so they pulled it from you. sucks. Just the reality.
Yeah.
And Oscar, great
Storm.
job of explaining it. Yeah, I'm in a sarcastic mood this morning, by the way, so be careful. I'll tell a funny story. Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So, last week, oh gosh, interest rates aren't going to go down, blah, 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 blah. So I took some money out of a mutual fund, and it was on Thursday because it's like, okay, it's not going to lower rates. Things are going to come down. And they took my information to do the document and everything. And they misspelled my email address to fill out the document. So it didn't close on that day's closing. And then the next day, Powell made his statement. And it's like, oh, inflation's coming in. So I'm like, oh, shit, the stock market's going to go up, And so I called the bank the next day and said, my mind's not working. I drank 5 cups of coffee this morning. I called back and said, hey, the thing didn't go through. So is it going to happen on today's rates now? And he said, yes. Oh, good. Well, this is like thousands of dollars for me. And so, okay, cool. So I did the thing and they said, but it's going to be Monday's closing day and it's going to take you 3 or 4 days to wire the money to you. And I'm like, have you ever heard about crypto? We could have just done this right here, right now, and I would have had the money in 40 minutes. And so we kind of laughed about it, but it was kind of a funny story that happened at the end of last week. So I hope the market goes up today.
Appreciate it, Coach. And Storm, thanks for sharing that. It's brutal to hear that, but I do think it's important that other people do glean from it. So thanks for sharing that, at least with us, and we can learn from it. Pate, are you there? Pate hasn't said anything the whole show. I just want to make sure he's awake over there. I guess not. Okay. Pate's watching VeChain pump right now. VeChain's leading the top 100 right now. It's up 4%, so he can't talk today. VeChain's up 4%, so he gets a pass.
Or maybe he's in a black hole.
Maybe that too. What happened with that chart, by the way? Holy shit. But let's not go there. We'll jump over to Mike. Mike, go ahead, man. And welcome.
Hey guys, good morning. How's everyone doing today? I had a great weekend touching grass, working out, swimming at a fancy infinity pool downtown. And just didn't look at my portfolio. I saw that the market was bleeding and just put the phone away for the day.
I'm live here too. I think I might. Why? What do you need? All right. I'll come up.
Sometimes that's the best thing to do. Just don't look at the chart. Go touch some grass, or like what I did over the weekend. I did some gaming yesterday. So there's fun side of crypto too. It's not all just charts. So we know where it's going. So don't worry about it. I wouldn't.
No, for sure. Sometimes you gotta break away, no doubt. has been down there too. That's another Mike. Mike, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, happy Monday. Just wanted to kind of report. I'm officially a member of XT Algo now, Zach. So shout out to you for setting that up. This past weekend when ETH hit an all-time high, I've been accumulating cryptocurrency since 2021, and I made my first sell ever. So I've just been accumulating for the past 4 years. I've never thought about selling, and when ETH hit an all-time high, I did take some profit. So that's the first time I've ever sold, and it was a pretty interesting feeling, right? There's a lot of things that you think about when you're watching these charts and everything, but made my first sell ever. I don't plan on selling too much. It's not how I view my money into cryptocurrency, but got onto the newsletter officially, Zach, and the XT Algo. I'm playing with it right now. It's awesome. So shout out to you guys and the Breakfast Club and creating this tool. The other thing I wanted to mention in regards to Storm, I'm a small business owner here as well in the Midwest. And just some other concerning things that I'm seeing right now. Over the last 90 days, I've had between refining companies in the oil and gas sector, 2 steel customers, 1 automotive customer, and a defense customer. In the last 90 days, 3 of those customers are Fortune 100, 4 of those customers are Fortune 500. So 7 customers total have requested expended net terms. So some of them have requested net 30 to 45. We've even had 2 of them request from net 60 to net 120. So I feel like this move from the Fed right now, cheaper capital is on demand right now. But when I see that in my small business, when customers are moving, like you said, Zach, kicking the can down the road, it's a huge warning sign for me that, like the previous speaker said, there are some major cracks under our economy right now, and really nervous just to having those terms extended, what that actually means for those businesses that are in the Fortune 100 and Fortune 500. So should be interesting to see here, but thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for coming up too, Mike. Yeah, you know, I remember us talking about this. Mutasco, I think you were there. Like, we were, I don't know if it was on a space or live streams. It was before we actually started the Crypto Breakfast Club, but I would dabble and I'd throw some up there once in a while. But I remember us talking about way back in the day how, and this was like 2022, maybe 2023, and there were all these reports how, like, oh, the back half of this decade, we're going to get kind of the Great Reset. Wasn't it Ray Dalio that kind of put that all together? And then, like, some other people extrapolated from that and was like, you know, look toward the back half of the decade. They're going to kick the can, and then it's all going to come to a head, you know, at the back end of the decade. And it feels like that potential's still there. And but I guess at the same time, with like risk on assets, like get in while the getting's good, and then position yourself, you know, for that potential downfall. I mean, Mutasco, do you remember that? Or am I like, I remember us being in a space, I think you and I were both up there talking to, and it was a while back, but, you know, it feels like they're just, that's still in play. You know, they're just putting a Band-Aid over a lot of issues, and in the meantime, everything looks, you know, great, and, you know, stock market all-time highs, and everything's good. And what do you guys think? Do we have something like that, like call it a Great Reset, or, you know, a cascade effects? I mean, we could talk about housing, obviously. Do we have something like that coming toward the back half of the decade? And if we do, how do we prepare for that? Like, how do we position ourselves?
Hey, Zach, can I jump in here?
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
'Cause I got something to speak on this, kind of like what Mutasco was talking about. Give me one second here, Zach. I got it back. 1 second.
Yeah.
One of the first things that comes to mind for me is diversification. As long as you're diversified and all your eggs aren't in one basket, you have a better chance of surviving if something does happen.
Hey, I'm back, guys. Sorry. I'm out walking my dog right now, and then our dog got loose, and it was pandemonium there for a minute. But we're dialed back in. No, I just want to speak a lot about what Mutasco is talking about, because talking about these banks, guys, my God, I have had a nightmare dealing with banks now over the last 3 months or so, because what I like to do and what's successful for me is leveraging money, guys. So my 401k, obviously stock markets are at an all-time high. My 401k is at an all-time high. I'm allowed to take out a loan against my 401k for a set amount of money. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking out the max amount, selling, getting that money when these stocks are at all-time highs, so I can leverage that money and gain even more interest, do things I want, and utilize that line of credit. Now, with the banks, I fully agree, and it's absolutely awful what happened to Storm, but I'm seeing it. Obviously, I have some family in small business. Similar things have happened. HELOC, home equity loans. 3 months ago, I wanted to take out a home equity loan. I have some things I want to do around my house, some upgrades, redo my kitchen, bathroom. I mean, you name it. And my credit is flawless. I have plenty amount of equity in my home to do this. Home values in my area the last 4 years have skyrocketed. We're talking houses down the street from me selling for $120,000 more than they did 4 years ago. They came back with the assessment on my home value. It was $1,000 higher than what I paid for it 4 years ago. So that just goes to show me that they think something's up. They're not buying that these home prices are 30 to 40% higher, and they know that a bubble does exist. So they are tightening the leash on lending, and that is a sign to me that, yes, Zach, in 26, 27, that this bubble, it is about to burst. So I recommend everybody, if you have money available to you, to leverage, to be able to take advantage of these market conditions as they currently are, I recommend you do it. I recommend you take some money. I know people don't like the savings accounts, but get into things like some higher interest bonds, stable investments, gold, things like this, so you can protect yourself. But take advantage now where the economy, where it is now, especially when it comes to the stock market and crypto market, to realize some of those gains. You have to leverage your money to grow your money. That's how this whole thing works. That's what banks do. That's what business does. That's what all these people do. And, you know, I'm up here and Storm's telling this story, and it's just all too familiar. It's just absolutely awful. That relationship you had for 30 years, building a business, creating jobs for this economy, and for them to just do something like that and say, hey, we don't need you anymore. It's terrible, guys, but it's par for the course. And like Matasco said, it sends a signal. Read between the lines. Look at the cracks. They don't do these things, reactionary. They do them preemptively.
Wow, Brian, that was very, very informative. Are you telling us that if you have equity in your home, that they're not even lending that anymore?
They're lending it at a much lower rate. So it came in what my home value, what I think it is, and using things like Redfin, Zillow, estimates, properties. My sister's in the real estate market. It was probably 120,000 higher than they came back with. So they weren't allowing me to borrow what I wanted to borrow. And it's just crazy because I had the liquid to cover this loan. Like, I had it in my bank. I had it in investments. Like, it's not like I'm borrowing money that I don't have, but I like to leverage money. I want to use the bank's money to pay and, get this money, not my investments. I want to use their money, but they're tightening their policies, guys. I'm telling you, I couldn't agree more with Matasco. Really keep an eye on this macro. And if you're involved, if you got lines of credit, if you're at all-time highs in your 401k, man, it might be the time now to switch an investment strategy, something that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be switching over from my high-risk, mostly stock investment portfolio, and I'm going to go all into bonds and cash because I'm okay missing another 10 to 20%. I'm not okay with 50 to 60% down.
That was very educational. I just really want to thank all of you. I learned so much. I mean, I'm a chef, so just learning about money in these spaces with all of you has tremendously impacted my life positively. And hopefully I'll come back from this when the time is right. I just really want to open up my businesses again. Not here for moon bagging or whatever Lambos and this nonsense. No offense to everybody who's into that, but I just want to do what I'm good at. And it's really nice to know you guys because when I'm finally able to, I will do things more differently than I have in the last 38 years of business. So really, thank you to all of you. Thank you so much.
No, and it also, to Brian's point, it doesn't even have to do with your credit. I mean, if you look at some of these reports, that even some small businesses that have solid credit, they're getting, their applications declined for no reason. There's a term called extend and pretend. This is literally a concept in the banking system where, if you guys remember, there was a lot of talks about real estate, commercial real estate, commercial real estate. And for some reason, it just keeps extending. Do you ever wonder why that is? Like, there's a problem coming, yet it doesn't usually happen. It's all the extend and pretend, right? Mechanics. Because they have a ways around things, right? They kick the can, they have ways to do. And I think Coach made a very important point, which is when it comes to arbitrage of interest, these banks rely on what they call the net interest margin or whatever, right? They get that from the reserves, but then when they borrow at less interest rates, they don't make as much money as if, they lend to people that are literally forced to lend at a higher rate, right? Because there's an arbitrage there and they're gonna grab it no matter what. So what they do is if I have a portfolio of $1 billion and 40% of it is sitting in, line of credits of different, maybe a small business, maybe an individual, maybe a home loan or whatever, I'm asking myself, how much more can I squeeze? So I'm going hunting, right? And that's what these guys are doing. It's not something against some individual or business, or it's pure business. And that's what this is all about, right? They're trying to figure out their ways. And just so I can clarify what I said earlier, when you understand the way the system operates, you're not going to panic into making actions reactively. Just know that the economy, the US economy, is like massive. These things cannot be allowed to happen abruptly, right? Because the consequence of that, or what could follow up, will be bigger than just, kicking the can. So often what usually happens, and this is how people bet on the market, right? They find ways to extend the problem, and they'll step in some ways to hype up a particular sector. So you have to look, right? And this is why we keep talking about risk assets, risk asset. If you look at the US debt, is up, right? Rates, we're seeing that there's now a signal, right? Why are they doing that? Now you ask the question, when these things align, where do you want your money parked? You don't want to sit in savings accounts, because you know why? They will inflate it away, right? Yeah, you can be the good guy. You're like, yeah, I'm good. I just need to save my money. Good luck. You can save it, but they're going to inflate it away by maybe at 3%. Because this is literally what the Fed is saying. Now, we're not talking about 2% inflation. We've moved away from 2% inflation. But think about how many times Jerome Powell kept repeating 2% target, 2% target. How many times has he said that, and how long have they been saying that? So what that does is your employer is using that BS to squeeze you out. Because if inflation rate is now 3%, your raise, if all you're going to do in your life is W-2 income, your raise is also suppressed, because your employer is looking at the Fed, which, by the way, the Fed is not being honest, right? They're intellectually dishonest all the time, right? But there's a chunk of people in the population in America that just rely on this. They're like, yeah, comply, trust the system, it's working, and that's all they do. What they don't realize is that the reality of what inflation is bigger. Now, think about what could have happened if everybody wakes up and realizes that, you know what, inflation is high, cost of living is up, if I get a job offer and I'm given 200K, is that really 200K? How much do I keep, right? Factoring in all these other leakages that would take away the money. Now, you're not even giving the little guy any leverage. Now, there are people who don't even understand these things. So when they get offered money, they just take it and they celebrate. They do backflips. They don't realize that it's not real money. So it's kind of sad though to say this, but the reality is the best direction to help yourself is to educate yourself. Hang out with people that actually are awake, they have skin in the game, and they're investing in these markets, right? Because these media stations that have taken over the entire country's dignity, they would screw you up. Whatever they're telling you, do the opposite, right? But unfortunately, there are truck drivers who literally go miles and miles around the country. They tune into Fox News, CNN, CNBC, whatever the taste is. And they get brainwashed into everything is fine. Fed is doing great. The government is doing great. And then before they realize, the key is taken away from them. And now they can't even keep up with their rent, right? And nobody hears those stories, right? Those are hidden figures. Nobody hears those stories. What you hear is Wall Street and all the big guys with the money that, by the way, have their ways around things, right? Because right now they know and they're moving money around the assets that will be appreciating. And if it's going to take 6 months, they're going to make a ton of profit. Okay, you guys remember 3-4 weeks ago, the Trump administration, the Trump family allocated some significant amount of money in Bitcoin, right? It went down, it went up, it went down. They don't care. They're going to make a boatload of money, right? And, you know, some of the assets they're going to buy, they may just pay cash for it, right? And also remember, Trump is a real estate guy. And Trump is a business savvy guy, okay? However way you put it. I'm just putting this as a point, right? The reason I'm making that statement, to be honest, is to say that if you think he is the president and he just wants to make sure the real estate market is fine, you're wrong, right? Because nobody wants to buy appreciating asset. Like, if the real estate valuation is too high, nobody wants to buy. They will make sure that there is a shock in it to allow people to gobble it up, right? Who are those people? I don't know, but there are people waiting for that to happen, right? Now, these risk assets that we're on the right side of history, right? You know, I posted the 1843, whatever it is. It's like some old farmer. I never really paid attention to this, but I just looked at them like, how did I not know about this, right? Because I would have known that in 2022, 2023, the economy was going to be bad, and I was going to probably lose a lot of money, right? So now the prediction is, you know, they have this table called ABC, and the C, I think B is usually the years you make money. And if you look in history, it has been very accurate. I don't know how, it's magic, it's voodoo, I don't know, but I'm not going to ignore the volatility that we're going to have in 2026 going into 2027. Remember, we're going into an election year, right? And what usually happens has some implications in the market. This is why a lot of people are positioning and they're escalating regulation, loosening stuff up, you know, and people are taking advantage of it, front running. Unfortunately, there's a chunk of people in the world today that have no clue what's going on, right? So you are in the right place and you could use this information to trade. And just be responsible, right? Just be responsible. Don't go borrow money and throw it into something hoping it works out. It may not work out. Most times it doesn't, and you're screwed. If you're going into the market, put money that you're comfortably able to put away. And just know that if it goes to zero, you're not going to lose your business, right? But again, that's just my opinion. It's not financial advice. I just love to learn and just be awake and see what's going on. I watched 2021. I said, not repeating it again. Okay. And I'm saying to myself, what can I do differently? And I think for all of us here, just being aware and just keep yourself updated on what's happening, you're probably going to be fine, right? You're not going to panic and freak out like everybody would do. you at least have your stuff in the right place and, you know, take some money out when you need it. I see UK crypto up there. Go ahead. Anybody who wants to talk?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. Thank you so much, Matasco, and just thanks to everybody, because this has been a really useful, I think, piece of all this advice that's been coming through for Storm. Right, you guys have nailed it. You've just given some great advice there. But I do want to speak to Storm because, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I think that is really useful and it sparked this really interesting conversation that we've had. So thank you. But also, I heard something in your voice, and obviously this is a shock, right? Something, has happened that's obviously going to have consequences in your life. But, I just wanted to come up and say, Matasco just mentioned it there, right? Once you're awake, unfortunately, sometimes we have to have some dark times before we kind of have to go, you know what? Shit, this is how it really is. This is how these institutions operate. Like, kind of once you see it, you can't unsee it. But I just want you to know you are not late. The fact that you are in this space, the fact that you're here around these people listening to these conversations, just listen in. This is a recorded space. I would go back and listen to this space again. Listen to this advice and just go and do some research. Just go and look into some of these things. That's what I did. That's how I ended up here. That's how I ended up, being a speaker somehow in this space. And, there's so much to learn. Every day is a school day. I'm learning all the time. But people will share that knowledge with you. People will share their wisdom, and a lot of the time it's, there are people in these spaces that literally are on YouTube all day, on spaces all day, on like education, information, discerning, working out like what's the right thing here. And then people are sharing it in conversations and spaces like this. So I just want to say to you, you may be down, girl, but you are not out yet. Okay? So sending you lots of love.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much for that. And yes, I will definitely listen to the space. And I'm surrounded by really incredible friends in the space. And I'm very grateful for the relationships. I believe that the relationships, I'm a really honest person. I've never screwed anyone over or screwed banks over or did anything ridiculous. So when you're like, oh, did you spend the money for, I didn't even think I was allowed to do that, to be honest. So I have a lot of research to do on that end, but it's important, the relationships you build. I may have a PFP here, but some people actually know who I am, that I trust, and they know my story. And the relationships that I build here and in person are the most valuable to me, regardless of everything else. And I know that I'm fully supported, whether I am able to make it, but many of my friends may be able to make it much faster than me. Maybe they will become my bank. Maybe they will be my investors. Maybe they will be supporting me. So yeah, I'm hopeful. Thank you.
You're going to be okay, sweetheart.
Thank you.
This is something interesting I heard the other day. I've been predicting the real estate crash for, over a year now. I saw where the mortgage rates came down before the interest rates came down, which tells me that, okay, these guys, these mortgage companies, they need refinancing. They need money, basically, because they preemptively dropped rates, which tells you, you got 38 states, major metropolitan areas have oversupply. So there's a problem. This thing's about to crash, and we've got to do something to get some money coming in. So they preemptively lowered rates. It was just kind of interesting. It's like, this thing's really coming, in my opinion, not financial advice, but look out. I had a buddy of mine call me, a lot of friends call me about stuff because, I don't know, I'm just wired differently or whatever, because I've had my ass handed to me before. But he wanted to do a reverse mortgage. And I was like, all right, let's go through the numbers, and he had like $300,000 equity, and they were going to charge $15,000 closing cost, and the loan to value rate was much lower than it usually is. So they were taking advantage of him basically. I was like, this is not a smart move for you because your equity is going to be all eaten up in 10 years after we went through the numbers, and the market's going to crash, and you're going to end up upside down. So I'm going to give you advice, not financial advice. Don't do this. And so having people like this in this room really helps. And, I'm the least eloquent in my speeches, but I understand it pretty well. And it is what it is. So you're going to be fine, Storm. You just keep doing what you do, which is you're a chef and you do great job, and people are going to come to your restaurant and you'll get through these hard times. You've got 29 years experience. So,
38 years.
38 years. Excuse me. You just look so much younger in your PFP. I wasn't going to age you or anything like that. But you've got a lot of experience. You've mastered your craft, and you're going to be okay. So try not to get don't get too emotionally distraught.
It's been a rough 5 years, Coach. That's all I got to say. And it breaks my heart what's happening to all of these businesses here. And I'm seeing ICE come in and just take all of these people. And I'll be honest with you, in 38 years, I've never had an American chef come and ask me for a job, just so you know. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Coach, I'm curious your thoughts because you mentioned some things with real estate there. Like, do you think it's different depending on, if you're looking at these places that were, so overheated, like, the Florida market? I remember a couple of years ago, like some condos and things I was we're looking at, it was cash buyer, over asking, crazy, right? Versus, like middle of America, where things could come down significantly still. You know what I mean? It's like how much further down could they come down in areas that are already down 50%, 55%? Do you think we're still going to see that? I mean, what's your timeline too? I'm curious.
Well, I do, but I spoke about this a few weeks ago. It's kind of a fractionalized industry, in my opinion. The baby boomers, which is the largest population, own the expensive houses, and they have a lot of equity in it. And what they're wanting to do is sell their house and buy a 2-3 bedroom ranch. And the young people are all trying to buy 2-3 bedroom ranches. So I don't know if the lower cost houses, so to speak, are going to have the big crash because of the demand is there, unless the builders keep building. I think your big. This is just an opinion. The larger price swings to the downside are going to be some of your, call it 2-3 story, 4 or 5 bedroom houses, because the boomers are trying to get out of those to downsize. So that's the only thing that I haven't really gotten my arms wrapped around that may keep it from being a total crash like 2008, because the boomer is such a large percent of the population.
It makes sense. No, definitely makes sense. Turning back into the crypto market, what are your guys' thoughts in terms of this kind of playing out like the way it, I guess, should, or the way it always has? We're seeing the rotation from Bitcoin to Ethereum. Like, are we in store for kind of what we always see, like Bitcoin to Ethereum, down to Cardano and Solana and AVAX, the other top alts, then down into the small caps and the micro caps and the small sectors, the one-offs? Like, do you think we're going to see that, or is this going to be kind of isolated in that, like, we see wherever the institutional money is going to go, that's where money's going to flow, and everything else will be left out? This is something I'm still tackling and struggling with, honestly, to try to figure out. Personally, I'm positioning myself in anything like that kind of fits the big narratives for the institutions. ISO, RWA, US based, with America kind of coming in and wanting to go all in on crypto. And I feel like that's probably a safe bet, but I could be missing out. as well, and not looking at some things, so I'm curious to hear, how people are kind of positioning themselves right now. I mean, a lot of people, I think it's clear, are moving from Bitcoin to Ethereum, but what are the next steps, if there are any? I mean, after this, I don't know anybody who wants to jump in on this, or at least how you're thinking about it. I'd love to hear some people's thoughts.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. I think that you're going to have more people that are in the degen space because the gambling and the casino kind of thing. So RWAs may take a little bit longer. It's a long-term thinking that you're doing. I believe that the alt season may trigger in the 50s, low 50s instead of the 40s this time because of the institutional money coming in. So it may happen quicker and it may happen less. That's just my thoughts on it. But I think we're in good position with the RWAs because people are, in my opinion, the gambling's never going to go away, right? The degens are going to continue to gamble because they want to make the big lick. But RWAs, I think, are more conservative, but long-term, probably better investment. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, Coach, too, like to go along with that, like I guess the way I'm looking at this is like narratives matter. Outside of the top stuff, outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum, call it XRP, maybe a few others, whatever. You could list 2 or you could list maybe 4 or 5. Outside of all that, narratives matter. And if you look at like last cycle, obviously it was a completely different script in terms of who was here, who was running the markets. It was retail driven, retail focused. But the narratives last cycle were NFTs, DeFi, meme coins. Now you've got the institutions fully in control. And what are the narratives? RWA, stable coins, AI, large cap, treasury companies. And so whatever these narratives are, this is just the way I'm thinking about it. Whatever these narratives are early on in the cycle, when the rotation starts to happen, when the bull run starts, which really started early 2024, and if you look at what was hot then, it feels like those certain things are still hot. It feels like those things are still kind of top of mind and top of the narrative list. And I just feel that, once we get into a risk on environment, full go with rate cuts, hopefully we, get one here in September. I'm looking at, your obviously Ethereum's, but, further down that line, not too much further, Chainlink, Ondo, obviously XRP, HBAR, Algorand, XLM, right? Like these type of plays to me make the most sense given what the narratives have been since the start of this thing and where we are right now. The other thing I just want to mention, and I want to get thoughts on this too, I really hope we get the Clarity Act before some of these key ETF deadlines. A lot of these ETF deadlines are coming up in October. October 18th is a big one. That's Grayscale XRP deadline. Really from like mid-October to end of October, we've got a ton of deadlines for XRP, Solana, HBAR, etc. Here's to hoping we get that Clarity Act pushed through, because I feel as if that's one of the reasons why they've continued to delay ETFs. They're waiting for the Clarity Act, right, to see what's what, to see what they can do and cannot do. Coach, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I consider to be uncertainty is these institutions have trillions of dollars, so they could literally, manipulation is in the title today, right? They've got 60% of the market now, and they could literally say, okay, let's take this thing down a few $1 trillion, which is just a small blip. I won't say a small blip, a blip on their screen, so we can take over this market and try to get more like 80% of everything. So that's the only thing that I see as a concern, that the big institutions come in and manipulate with the trillions of dollars that they have to shake out the weak hands and get more control of this industry.
And I guess building off that, it's like, what do they want to control? And that's essentially, I think, if you're a smart retail investor right now, that's where your mind should be. Where are they going to try to dominate next, right? We saw them move Bitcoin from 18,000 to 123,000. Okay, now Ethereum's here. That's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. It's the only one with clarity in terms of having an ETF alongside Bitcoin right now. But you know they're not going to stop, right? Like, where are they going to go next? What other pockets of the market do they want to control and dictate, manipulate? Yeah, there's going to be some swings, there's going to be some ups, some downs, of course, but we know that the broader trend is going to be up if they come in, because they're not bringing, millions of dollars, billions of dollars, they're bringing in trillions. And the RWA sector feels like it's the place, right? Like, and I look at an asset like Chainlink. Chainlink was down there, I mean, at the bottom for a really long time. It's been slowly grinding up. I really like it as a, low risk play right now with upside. They're an infrastructure play, and that's one of the things I really like about Link. They're embedded into the Ethereum ecosystem. They're partnered over here with Ondo, and they're working with Ripple over here in this category. Like, they're an infrastructure play that fits all of the top narratives right now. So, like, that's one I really like. Obviously, XRP. What's interesting about XRP is it's gained the retail interest and the institutional interest in a lot of ways, and that to me, there's really nothing like it right now. I mean, I'll tell you guys, and I've said this before, like, just from a Google search trend data, YouTube data, like, I'm an analytics guy when it comes to that, because you always want to be on top of, like, what people are actually interested in, because usually after that interest level, like, if there's interest, usually there's buy pressure, right? And that's how I kind of got relatively early to XRP. I saw that that whole thing kind of materialize when it was 50 cents to $1, and okay, here we go. Judge Torres, 2023, XRP not a security, and look where we are now. What other kind of narratives could play out like that is essentially what I'm trying to get after, right?
Yeah, one of my thoughts on that is they're watching our sentiment, right? Like, okay, Bitcoin goes down, ETH goes up, we've got the flippening, so to speak. Here comes alt season, so we're all pivoting and buying ETH, and then we're getting our positions in our altcoins, and they know what we're doing, so they can use that information on sentiment and make their moves. So it's kind of like a chess match where they kind of know where we're going with our call it educated guesses as to what's going to happen, and then they may try to manipulate that. So that's my only concern. Everything else I'm good with. I'm still positioned as you are, and learned a lot in here with everybody in the room. I think we're positioned in a good place. So the only thing that could screw us up is these big institutions manipulating based on what the sentiment and the smart retail investors are doing. Totally fuckery. Excuse my language.
No, 100%, 100%. And another way I was looking at this too, like, I was just kind of, hanging out this past weekend a little bit yesterday, and I started looking at, like, just maybe the top 25, top 30, and just kind of looking, okay, what's already set a new all-time high, which kind of, where there could be a little bit more diminished returns, but, like, where could this capital roll over that would make sense? Like, you got Bitcoin, it set its all-time high. Ethereum set its all-time high. Solana set its all-time high. XRP basically set its all-time high. Now, I'm not saying they don't have further upside, but they've set their all-time highs. You've got, like, Cardano and Dogecoin, though, both top 10 when you exclude stablecoins. They haven't. Tron's in there, too. I'm not a big fan of Tron personally, just the whole Justin Sun stuff. I don't know. Just I've never got on board with Tron. If you've made money with it or you think you can, I mean, more power to you. I mean, go for it. But I'm looking like Cardano, Dogecoin, which, Dogecoin's interesting because you think of it as like retail degen, but they've got ETFs filed. That's one meme coin there that I think the institutions could get behind. It's proof of work. It's been around since 2013 or something crazy. Like, that's one there where that could get real wild again. And it's been quiet for a while. I wouldn't sleep on that. Chainlink I mentioned. But Cardano's really one that stands out. It's definitely underperformed significantly. You've had new kid on the block, Sui, kind of steals some thunder. I think from Cardano. But I do think it still has some upside. And then a lot of the RWA, kind of narratives as well with H-bar and as we mentioned, Algorand. There's some ones even further down the line that look kind of interesting. Plume is basically at an all-time low, and they've been building pretty nicely in the background. I think they've got some connections to Ondo as well. They're kind of bottomed out right now. Smaller cap, I think they're like 200 million, something like that. But that's kind of, I guess what I'm trying to get at is how much do I rotate over? I've got my Bitcoin allocation, I've got my Ethereum allocation. It's like, it's always a balance, in terms of how much risk you want to take. But is it that risky to go into like Chainlink, Stellar, H-bar, like some of these things that are 50, 60, Algorand, hell, 90% down still from its all-time high. It's always something I'm constantly, thinking about. And honestly, I never have a perfect solution. I don't think anybody really does, but you got to kind of get to some kind of conclusion though, right? And put your flag in the ground and, hey, I'm going to do this, and I guess I'm pretty much there, but I'm always kind of tinkering.
Yeah, my thoughts there, and I'm just having a discussion with you here, is maybe consider taking profits a little bit earlier and pivoting back to Bitcoin, just so you don't get screwed, basically, because it might not go as high as it has traditionally. It's just a thought. But that's one of the things I'm looking at is that, somebody was saying, hey, I sold ETH the other day when it hit the app and it felt so good, it was like, that's probably a good move, right? Take your profits and put them where they're going to grow long term, so you don't get caught up in the manipulation, honestly. So they're good plays. It just may not go 5x, it might go 2x or something like that. Just throwing out numbers.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And I think, some of the stuff that was hot at the beginning of the cycle is going to remain hot. XRP, SWI, H-bar, like these sort of things, I don't think they really go away. They're gonna stay kind of top of mind when liquidity really starts to flow here. Whenever that happens, obviously with rate cuts or whatnot. But we got Zach up here too. I want to get his thoughts. He's obviously great trader. If you guys don't follow Zach, make sure you follow him. Zach, what's going on? What are your
Good morning, Angels.
What's happening?
Not too much. Chopping about, trying to hold on this shelf right here.
On Bitcoin?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Aerodrome already made its way down. Link already made its way down. Bio's holding on. Sui and Sol are following BTC. So, more so ETH. ETH's been more dominant this uplift. So, yeah. Hopefully ETH recovers over the next week or so and we continue to march up. But we could face a structure issue shortly. We've had this price swing before when we've hit an all-time high, so it's good. But we'll see how it goes. How are you guys?
Doing great. Can't complain. What do you think about rate cuts? What's your take? Are they going to happen?
They're good to have, but we can't count on them.
You think we get one in September?
I think they're going to gaslight us into getting one, and they're probably going to do it in Q1 of next year, not Q4. They want the bleed. You know what I mean? They want to pick stuff. They want to pick up single family homes at discount. They want small businesses closing. They want you dependent on them. They want to shift. That's all they really want. They want more power. So, yeah, and more stuff, which historically they've triggered. So they'll have a really good Q4. Going into Q4, it'll get really bad, and then they'll resimulate a reason for printing in Q1.
So you think the bull cycle is going to extend well into 2026, early 2026?
Yeah, but it'll be more structured on ETH and BTC.
More top heavy?
Yep.
Kind of makes sense with the institutions. What do you think? I mean, so another thing we were mentioning too, like the Clarity Act, do you think the Clarity Act gets passed ahead of some of these deadlines for ETFs? I know a ton of them are coming up in October.
They said August, and Loomis says September, so we'll see how that goes.
I hope we can get it through before some of these ETF deadlines, and maybe that can be another little catalyst for us. I mean, how quickly they can put together basket ETFs, I think will be interesting to watch too. Personally, this is where I think the institutions want to get exposure to everything else outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. They want a basket, in my opinion. Maybe not. I mean, we'll see, but I feel like that makes the most sense. Yeah, go ahead. Who is that up there? Slick Rick. Go ahead, man. Can you guys hear him? I can't hear him.
Nope. Says he's a listener.
Oh, okay. On my end, he's a speaker. But Slick Rick, maybe drop down, come back up, bro. Can't hear you. Yeah, Zach, bio. Oh my gosh.
Was it fun? What did we give it to you? 6, and then it got to 30.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Yeah, that was a fun ride. I got a little moon bag too. I think there's some upside potential here for sure still.
It's early. It's a sector. We'll see what happens. They are announcing derivative actual launchers now, so we've been seeing that come up. And he's one of the few teams we've ever seen be extremely honest about the LPs. And he's like, we made $4 million in the LP, and we intend to use it, like, on whatever their thing is. So it's pretty cool of him. So reinvesting it back into their ecosystem,
Yeah, what are they going to do? Like a bunch of AI agents, it looks like?
It's an entire sector. So one of the things that they intend to do is invest in the sector with the LPs, apparently. I have to look at the post or something like that. Don't quote me. But basically, DeSci is a sector and bio is one of the main coins. And they have a vehicle to monetize decentralized science projects. Whether it be case studies, pharmaceuticals, patent, or medical testing, like that's their entire ethos. And I think that's the largest reason why Vitalik gave them money, CZ gave them money. I think Coinbase gave them money. There's a lot of people who gave them money to just go and try this and do this the best they can. So similar to DeFi sector, they're trying to build something called DeSci sector, which is decentralized science. So it'll be interesting for sure. It's still growing. It's still in infancy. It's still learning what it is and developing itself, But there's a lot of cool stuff and a lot of really cool people building weird things, which is always good, Speculation's key. So we'll see.
Definitely. Yeah, it's been a fun one, that's for sure. Let's see here. Mike, MM, you got anything?
No, I just one of the things I wanted to bring up. You were talking about some of the things that you were thinking about rolling over. One of the things that I'm trying to battle with, I'm the only one in my family who's involved with cryptocurrency. And it's so funny over the last 2 years, when you start getting texts from your 55, 60-year-old uncle asking about what Bitcoin is, you start to kind of like nod your head, right? And you start to see what they're seeing. I think for me, the big thing I'm kind of battling with, I always, just because I'm in the industries, I always look at macro. And I think right now we're in a situation where, at least for the Trump administration, in my opinion, as soon as they need to go and print, they're going to go and do it. And they're going to print their way through the term, I think, to keep things afloat. And I think, from a theoretical standpoint, I think they're buying themselves time in order for this data center AI revolution to kind of actually start to give an ROI on the trillions that are going to be invested, not only from an energy standpoint, but also from just a build-out standpoint, right? So I think from our standpoint, the U.S. economy, I think what we're trying to figure out right now is what is our next revolution as an economy. And I'm hedging that it's going to be twofold. It's going to be an AI data revolution as well as a finance revolution. And so Powell's statement was clear. I think somebody had mentioned this earlier in the call. Not 2% is no longer the goal, right? So your money, the US dollar, will be more inflated. So just from an investment standpoint, where to move my money, I don't know. What I'm struggling with right now is I used to be just traditional 401k, max it out, right? And play the market in stocks. But at what point do I start to switch the lever and just get extremely aggressive into my base case, which is, I think, the way we get out of our debt cycles as a country and the way we kind of create a new economy is going to be through a finance revolution, right? So at what point do we stop relying on the Mag 7 to prop up our 401ks when I think the base case of the economy is stagnant at best, and really lean into more of an aggressive stance into crypto. So that's been like on the top of my head for like the past 2 or 3 months, is like, man, you know, I have positive returns in all my holdings in crypto, but it's like, when do I kind of trust myself here and what I'm feeling, you know? So these are just things that float through my head on a daily basis, and trying to figure out entry points and stuff like that. So that's kind of what's on my mind today.
No, I like it. I'm right there with you. It's tough. It's a balance too, especially, you know, because I'm looking at it like, okay, stocks, crypto, real estate, cash. That's at least where I'm at right now, and it's like, how do I best position myself for what could be coming here the back half of this decade? And it's tough, honestly. But I guess I'm way more crypto than traditional investors would be, and slowly but surely have got to that point. But I also struggle with holding cash, just because, I mean, the dollar's down 10% this year in 2025. I mean, you've lost 10% of your value in just holding cash. I mean, it's just brutal.
And try explaining that to your boomer uncles who are trying to figure out what Bitcoin is and how to buy it, right?
Well, in your uncle's defense, he has a lot more cash.
Yeah.
And a lot more stuff at a lower cost basis with no inflation and a higher union rate.
True.
They're in a different reality, guys.
It depends on your age and your financial position and all of that. Everybody's situation is different. I'm in the older demographic, so I'm more conservative. But I do have to beat inflation. I know that. So that's just...
I saw a beautiful nostalgic post of a bunch of really old couples just, you know, crazy in love. And I'm like, those really, really low inflation rates did help, huh?
Yeah, right.
High-paying jobs. Used to be able to work a summer and get a new Chevy, you know?
The good old days.
The good old days, for sure. So, hey, at least I know I've been married a long time, and now, you know, we're way past all that shit. It's like, all right, you're going to push me around in a wheelchair and carry my colostomy bag, you know, so we're good to
We
go.
need to have a private
finally.
conversation about your romance, okay? We're going to have a different conversation. No, that's not. No.
It's not so much romance.
We'll get an Optimus Tesla Cybertruck for that. You're fine.
Slick Rick, let's see if we can hear you.
Yo, can you hear me there, brother?
Yeah, we got you, man. What's happening?
How you doing? How you gentlemen doing today, man?
Doing
Last
great.
Monday, start to the week. Let's get to it. Now, I was listening to what you were saying earlier. Good points on a lot of things. This is my belief, personally, right? I made a video, I think, matter of fact, if you don't mind, I'll put it up there. I think I made it in the 12th or something. I forget when I did it. But if you look at things, right, what hit all-time high? Bitcoin hit all-time high, right? What came behind that? ETH hit all-time high. What is everybody playing on, gambling every single day? Solana. Solana hasn't even hit all-time high, let alone got 50%, maybe about 60% of all-time high. 212, and the high is 294. So I believe, like even the other day, I think it was day before yesterday, Bitcoin went all the way down to 112, and Bitcoin was still above 200 and some change. I believe that they're going to push Sol to the next all-time high, right? It's not because, I'm a Sol maxi and none of that. I'm just going with the waves of how they're pushing it and what I feel is a lot more volume and a lot more, transactions that are happening along the blockchain, right? And then I forget who it was that was saying it is trying to figure out where the balance is with where to put their money and stuff like that, man. I feel like a lot of us are going through that because we're like, I'm a business owner and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, do I start getting more of this cash and putting it into this crypto, or do I start, max out the 401ks and do all these things for write-offs and whatever else I need to do? But I just feel like we're at a different point in time, I feel like me right now in time, I just want to be my own bank. So if I don't need the money, I'm not fucking taking it. That's all I'm gonna be, because, you know, we've waited for years for the big people to talk about crypto. We've waited for a long time for people just to even say anything about anything. And now that we're here, and it's being adopted right under our feet with these big ass, you know, Fortune 500 companies and all these billionaires, you know, I don't want to be the one that said, oh, my shit went up 3x, so I had to stable out because I'm like, oh, it's over. So me, I'm on a risk tolerance thing, you know what I mean? So I'm going to take out initials if I feel like, okay, boom, which I've done that a long time ago, and now I'm pretty much free rolling, and I'm just going to let that shit ride. So that's just me, man, just a little thought process there, because, you know, I feel like a lot of people are dealing with that same mindset right now, because it's a lot to take in with everything that's happening. So and it's happened so rapidly, but it's a blessing, man. So now I'm just right here getting back to my shop, but I just wanted to, you know, check in. I was gone for a few days doing with some personal family stuff, dealing with my daughter and stuff. But yeah, man, had to jump back in here, come support you guys, man. Shout out my boy Paige. Matasco, how you doing, brother? You know, my girl Liz, everybody down there, Cali Crypto, Zach, everyone's in here, man. Love all y'all, man. Just wanted to come in, check in. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming back in. And yeah, I'm with you. You know, like I'm still personally, I'm still maxing out the 401k, right? I'm still looking at that and saying, hey, you know what? They're gonna prop this thing up over there with your, you know, your top, you know, your Amazons, your Googles, your Apples, your, you know, all of your, you know, top things over there. But I'm also, in the same breath, I'm looking at, you know, a lot of these crypto companies and AI companies, like, because I think that's where we're heading, right? Like Mike just said it, like AI, robotics, blockchain. That's what I think's next up on the table. It's happening right now. Like, so, you know, in my individual brokerage account, you know, in terms of what I'm doing that's liquid, that, you know, I'm not, you know, just going long term with it. I'm looking at some plays there. I mean, an asset, a stock that I've done really well on, some energy stocks too. GE Vernova has been one of my best performing stocks of 2025. That's, you know, that's been a big winner. But, you know, I'm looking at, like, in the crypto world, Coinbase, you know, Robinhood, in terms of where they're going now with tokenizing stocks and 24/7 trading and offering mortgages. I mean, these companies are becoming behemoths now. And I think, you know, you look at kind of the new age bank. I mean, isn't Coinbase basically that, you know, in a world where we're heading into, right? And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there with some one-off stocks. You know, obviously Nvidia's done what it's done, and I think it's, you know, probably going to continue to do well. But, you know, there are some interesting plays that, you know, are in Nvidia's realm, you know, that maybe haven't gone parabolic yet. So, like, I'm looking there. Where I'm really struggling right now is, like, in real estate. Like, so one of the things I'm doing right now is my brother-in-law, one of my brother-in-laws, he's got, they're flipping houses and things like that. So I'm basically, you know, my exposure to real estate right now is helping them, like, basically be their bank, you know, and they're giving me like 17 to 18%. And then any month it goes over, you know, our allotted contract, like I get an additional like 1%, 2%, something like that, depending on what we write up. So, like, that's kind of my exposure right now, but I'm looking at it like, you know, do I want to get more exposure to real estate in terms of, you know, even just buying land right now in some areas?
Yes, Zach, yes.
You know?
The goal is to buy land.
And just sit on that for a little bit, you know, and use it as kind of a safe haven a little bit, and obviously, you know, helps on taxes here and there, but it's a delicate balance, man. Like, there's so many different directions you can go, and I think the biggest thing is just don't be sitting on money in a savings account right now. Like, don't have most of your money just sitting in a savings account losing 10% of its value in 2025. I mean, at the bare minimum, I mean, sure, have a rainy day fund, right? Of course. But at the bare minimum, like the money market, at least you're hedging against inflation a little bit, right? Get some Bitcoin, get some gold. I mean, you got to do something. And I think so many people out there still have this idea of just, money in the bank is okay. Um, I don't know, man. It's
I
tough.
wrestle with my parents all the time, man. But I got them to break a little bit. So, it's really, what it boils down to, the DYOR, man. And this is why I tell people when I talk about crypto, as I said, look, don't even listen to me. Go get on YouTube, read some books, read whatever you got to do, because people will hear, but they won't understand, right? And the best way for them to learn is to understand. Because if you don't understand what this shit is, then they're not going to believe it. And I literally had to sit down for weeks, just for for especially the older generations to just give it to them, because unless they've been in it, they don't understand nothing. So that's kind of like the hardest part about it. But, like for me personally, like I have properties, I have rentals and houses and stuff like that. That's always the goal, because it's passive income for the long term, and it's not, and most of the time, God is good, right? So you just give that down to your kids, and they'll have, houses that are paid off, and it'll be free money every month, right? But yeah, man, the goal is to buy land, Zach, buy land, buy properties. When I first started doing the whole real estate thing, I had my father-in-law, he's a big contractor. He remodels and builds mansions and shit like that. So he's the one that really got me into it, because he had a bunch of shit. And I just, I bought one. And when I bought one, all I did was, like, let's just say the mortgage is $1,500, okay? Well, then I'm charging $2,000, and then I'm creating a rental account, and all the extra money goes in there, and I just put it in there and put it in there and put it in there, and I stack that in case something happens, maybe an AC goes out or whatever. And then the next thing a couple years go by, you got freaking 5, 6, 7,000 up in there, or whatever it is that's in there. And the next thing you go buy you another one, because all you're doing is having someone else pay off your stuff, and you're stacking at the same time. And the only thing that you ever really have to do is if something big goes out, maybe, or something happens that you got to fix, which is not really all the time. Sometimes it'll be little tweaks and shit that needs to get fixed. But other than that, it's free money, man. And you do that, you got 10 houses. I like to get duplexes. Those are the best ones for me. I like doing duplexes. I have like 7 of those. And those, you can fit, small family homes. And I'm in California, so right now, shit's going for like $2,200 a piece. You know what I mean? And, back then, we were just, I want to say like 4 years ago, we were only renting them out for like $1,300. So now it's $700 more. And I don't see shit going down out here. So it's like, now it's just all passive income, you know what I mean? On top of whatever other revenue streams that you have involved yourself in to get yourself to that next level. But yeah, bro, if I was you, 100% be buying land, man. Even in, you know what else I've been doing? I've been buying shit in like Texas, because Texas is cheap. Arkansas, all those places like that. Just buy a piece of land. And this is what I do. I go and I look at these big cities. Like if you would have bought in Vegas, right? Me and my wife went to Vegas, and when I was in Vegas before they ever before they ever built that stadium, if you were to do your research and you buy about 10 miles out from where that stadium was built, those fucking houses are worth hella money now. Why? Because it's close to these big spots. So if you can, when you go into these places, like say you're gonna get something in Texas, look around 10 miles out and find yourself a nice piece of cheap land, because 10 years from now, that'll be built with a bunch of fucking houses, and it'll have a nice little metroplex around there with little shopping centers and everything, and it'll be double worth the money you paid. So just a little bit of advice, if anyone wants to get into that real estate, man, that's where the money's at, and it's longevity. It's all about, the key is we can make money, but how are we going to keep it? But yeah, I'll end it with that, brother. Appreciate it.
This will be the last time I break in. Land, yes, I agree with that, because there's never going to be more land. Throw a couple of cows on there, or however many cows that you can get on there to be considered farmland, and you get a lot of tax breaks on that. So,
and Coach,
that's, probably
it's another one of those things where it's like, where there's scarcity, there's value. When there's a finite supply, there's value. And it's like, it's that same principle as to what makes Bitcoin so valuable. And oftentimes I think people, even in crypto, forget. It's like, well, no, this is going to be the next Bitcoin. Well, does it have a finite supply? Can you mint more tokens? If it doesn't have a fixed supply, it's not going to be Bitcoin, because that's what makes Bitcoin so valuable, is that supply and demand shock that can happen and is basically happening right now at the same time, right? Whenever you can't make more of something, there's value there. And so that's why I look at land. I mean, I had the opportunity. So this triplex, I'm actually just finishing closing on it today. And then so like what happens is I'll get the title for a day, then I transfer it over to my brother-in-law's company. They do all the renovations, and then 6-7 months down the road, they're done. I get my 17% on the money. And they gave me the option to buy it and own 70% of it. But I wouldn't recoup my basis in 10 years. And it's like I'm torn right now to go into that arena, because you got to dedicate time toward it, and I don't necessarily have the time. I mean, I can go find property managers and all of that, but it's like, I don't know, man. I'm always torn. It's like, should I just stay in my lane? Because I've also, when I was trying to become an entrepreneur like 5 years ago, I was doing 5 different things at once. And what I realized is I couldn't do anything great, because I was delegating my time all over the place. I would give 25% over here, 30% over here, 40% over here. And then today, I let this slip. I gotta go 100% into this thing today. And then what happens? You let the other thing slip because you got to focus on this thing. And I finally figured out this YouTube thing, and obviously created XT Algo and now the Crypto Breakfast Club. But it's all kind of in the same lane. And it's like, I don't know, man. I'm talking in circles here, but it's fun. It's exciting. I'm doing it, but it's like, I don't want to lose sight of the main thing. But at the same time, I got all these other ideas and things I want to do. It's a good problem to have, I guess, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm always struggling.
Just always remember, man, never have your eggs in one basket,
For sure.
It's okay to be a jack of all trades and master of none. That's what people gotta look. The best part about life is failing, because that's how you win. Never count your losses as losses, you count them as lessons, So, I mean, I messed up 1 billion times, but it's what I learned from it is it got me to where I'm at today. So, yeah, don't feel like that's a problem. That's a blessing you're going through. And if I was you, man, like, I don't even like to say it like this, but I'm mixed family with business. It's just what it is, right? So when it goes good, it goes good. But when it goes bad, it goes bad. So if I was you, I would just learn the game of what you're doing with that and soak that up and go on your own and do the whole same process, but all on your own, and stack up that property. Stack that property.
That's funny you said that. I was going to say, I call myself a joke man, jack of all trades, master of none. If you get overextended, then you're not good at it. You got to kind of, tighten up, because you're getting too many places, then it's hard to manage all of them.
That's right, brother.
Is that paid speaking for the first time?
This ain't paid. This is layaway.
Oh man! All right, we'll close up shop here in a few, but I know we got a few hands. We'll let everybody speak their piece, and then we'll get up on out of here. Good way to kick off the week, though, for sure. Appreciate everybody being here. We'll give it a few extra minutes here. Mutasco wants to jump in. I think Zach wanted to jump in, and Matt. So we'll go around there and then close it up.
A few things before you close up. I wish Matthew would come up, but you're closing up, so maybe next time. I wanted to kind of poke his mind on retirement accounts, as valuations in equities is kind of at all-time high comparatively to 1929, 1999, 1965, all that crap. The data shows clearly. So I'm kind of concerned that people who are going into retirement and not have no clue what could potentially happen. And this, we literally had a glimpse of this recently when the market did the Liberation Day. As you guys know, the market took a huge hit. And the media stations, as you all know, the media sheeps, they just took it on. They're like retirement accounts, and what the danger of that is, when they hype something like that, people who are ignorant, what they do is, you sat on that account and now it's down like 10, 15, 20%, and you panic and you're like, well, I'm going to cash out. Well, you're cashing out at a discount. So you just sliced your returns by a significant margin. How is that going to help you in retirement if you have health issues, you have all kinds of debt? So you're kind of screwed. And then the market returned, right? So how many people are getting wrecked in that arena? Because usually as these retirement funds are packaged, it's either skewed equities versus bonds. And as we see this week, and prior to Jerome Powell speaking, the Treasury started doing some moves on the Treasuries as well. It's kind of interesting the mechanics of what's going on. As you guys know, it's always considered like dumb money, right? It's because most people don't actually look at the accounts. So what these fund managers and the market does is they take advantage of the ignorance and figure out ways around things. But it's only good if you're not retiring, right? But if you're unfortunately hitting that retirement age where you graduate into permanent unemployment, you're in trouble, right? And that's a problem. The final comment I'll make, and Matthew, if you have time, you can come up. Hopefully, Zach can let you speak a little bit. But the final comment I'll make about what somebody was saying earlier regarding the market is pay attention to the treasury companies, what they call the dots, right? Pay attention to them because there's capital literally flowing there also. And what that does to other altcoins will be interesting to watch. And to your point, Zach, about the SEC and the Clarity Act and all that, there's a few statements. Paul Atkins said we can make rules. We don't have to wait for Congress. There was a reason why he said that, calculated, right? Yeah, that means the institutions can rely on the SEC now. He also said that they were going to put in place things that would avoid having, if there was a change in the SEC, somebody literally scrapping everything that they've achieved so far. I don't know how that would stand, but he's making a statement against the fact that we now have literally a bill that could be passed into law that could provide some clarity in the entire market. Now, and at the back of it, they're building this, to your point, this is my final comment. There was a leaked document, which was about 12 pages, that showed that the SEC on the back end, they're building this new listing framework for, exchange traded products. And I think that their goal to getting this out is next month or October, I believe, right? So the timing of some of these ETFs, XRP, Solana, Avalanche, all that crap, they may end up making, I don't know the content of the framework, but the leaked document shows a little bit signals on what it would look like. It's generally trying to make the listings of everything else besides Ethereum and Bitcoin more streamlined. But they also have a big question. Why should we add this into an ETF, right? Given the competition in the market. So it'll be interesting to see how that framework rolls out, but that is literally what is holding the approval of some of these ETFs that are still pending. And that could be a catalyst, right, for the market in general if it gets approved and with the staking and all that. So some of these low-hanging fruits, L1s that are in the pipeline, they may be allowed timely enough to capitalize on the staking that is being rolled out. So again, these are interesting things, and this is not the time for me to sell out of the market. Like it makes no sense at all, in my own view, to sell out of the market right now. Now, what happens in 26, 27, we'll leave that to when we get there. But I am bullish the market in general.
Appreciate you as always, Mutasco. We'll go Zach, and then we'll go Matt, and then we'll close up shop.
Yeah, I just came up for the real estate talk real quick. It'll be very short. I think what you're doing, Zach, is wonderful. Sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. I'm in that field, and it's sometimes better to just be the investor than the owner, right? You can make your money back faster just lending it to your brother-in-law than dealing with the fucking headache. Everyone glorifies real estate, but it's not always that simple. It's really not that simple. You got to deal with all kinds of tenants and all kinds of bullshit. So if you can just collect your, percentage and not have to deal with the headache, and not saying stay in your lane, but you found your niche, man. And I think you're doing well, the way things are going, and collecting your percentage and lending it. I mean, he's probably definitely grateful because you basically gave him a career, and you get that percentage back without the huge headache. So, for people that want to get into real estate, everyone talks about how glorified and great it is. It's not always that great, right? And one deal can ruin you. So I think being the investor is sometimes better than being the owner. That's all my thoughts on that was, but thank you.
No, I appreciate that. And that's like something like right now, it's like I don't really want to manage people. Like, because then again, it takes away from like what I'm good at and what I want to do and what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a good manager of people. Like, you gotta call your own bullshit too. You know what I mean? Like, you got to call yourself out on your own bullshit. Like, you got to be real with yourself. What do you want to do? What do you not want to do? What are you good at? What are you not good at? What are you willing to do? What are you willing not to do? And like for right now, it's like, hey, I could do this, and it's a separate source of income. I mean, down the line, yeah. Do I want to own more properties? Yeah, but it's like I don't want to manage it, man. I don't want to do all that, and that's why land's enticing, right? From a buy and hold perspective right now. So, yeah, I'm kind of all over the place, but no, I appreciate the insight there too. Matt, give you the mic, bro. Go ahead, man.
Land is so enticing, Zach. Like it's so awesome. I tell you what, I do real estate, and I have a partner, and it's tough when you do renters and you have a partner. Because especially if your partner is, for lack of a better term, a normie. So when I talk to my partner about crypto, it's like talking to just a blank, right? Like there's nothing there whatsoever. And when I say my visions for the future about how we can tokenize some real estate, and I'm looking into tokenizing real estate, dude. Like, trust me, it is the future. But when I talk about stuff like that, I actually get met with resistance. Like, that's so stupid. Why? Crypto's way too risky. Why would we do that? Okay, all right, let's back up a little bit. I didn't say, we're going all in. But then you have renters, and if you have a nightmare renter, and anybody who's ever rented anything, like owned rental real estate, rental property, if you have a nightmare renter, especially if they're like a social media influencer and they violate the lease agreement and you got them and you got to get the sheriffs involved and you have to evict them, and they go on social media and just destroy you on social media, even though it's all lies, they could destroy you on social media. And I laugh at stuff like that, but some people take that personally. Like, anybody can say anything about me, no problem. It's a free world. But some people take it personally, and there's so much stuff that comes along with when you're dealing with other people. Other people. Remember, you have no control over other people. When you work at a company with 1,000 other employees, you have no control over 999 other people in your life. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 for 40 years. You have no control over that. If they're going to be a dick, they're going to be a dick. So this the whole thing with, farming, using human resources, I want out personally. Like, I don't want to be around other people. The land, however, the raw land where there's nobody and it's just, developing acre after acre after acre of lakefront property, that's great. Because nobody's on it, nobody can get to it, it's being developed. Every square foot that gets cleared every day, is another $10 in my pocket. And there's 44,000 square feet an acre. I mean, it's great, right? And I'm not talking like desert land or anything. This is actually, in the upper Midwest. You guys know where it's at. But anyways, it's people. That's the resistance. So yes, if you do real estate, you get the right tenants, it's great. But one wrong tenant, one nightmare tenant can destroy you. Zach from Subway said, right? One person can destroy a whole operation. And that's a shitty feeling when it happens. So where is the only escape with your money where nobody can wreck you other than an institution? Crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi. So like, that's what makes crypto great. And if you use a little logic, think about this. Are people getting better or are they getting worse? Are NPCs and normies getting better or are they getting worse? I would say they're probably getting worse. There's more road rage. There's more assaults. Look at this Rampage Jackson's kid, right? I mean, just people can't take stuff anymore. It's all going to crypto. So what makes it so enticing is the fact that some people can see it, but most cannot. I don't think this thing is going to kick off in 2026. And I know other Zach said 2020 Q1, right? And I was listening very carefully to what he said. And I agree with like 99% of what he says. But the institutions don't want a bunch of people getting $10,000 in tax returns and throwing it all into Bitcoin or Ethereum. So they're not going to wait around for these poor people to get their huge tax returns and possibly get into crypto. So that Q1 thing is out the window for me. Strongly out the window. The bull run starts any moment. It could start September 1, October 1, November 1, but it's going to start any moment between now and the end of the year. Because they know, and here's my reasoning for this, because they know everybody is penniless in America. Everybody is penniless in America. I can't stress that enough. If you think there's people with money, you are confused. I go out on the lake as many times as I can, every weekend, anytime the weather's nice, I'm out there boating. And I don't see any more boats out there. Nobody has any money to fill up their boats with gas. Keep in mind, I live in a super conservative, very wealthy red state. There's lots of oil, there's lots of farmland, there's lots of production here, manufacturing. We have a giant Bitcoin manufacturing or Bitcoin mine in the oil fields. Dude, nobody has any money. They're broke. And if they're broke here, they're broke where you are at. And if you think they have money, you're delusional. Now, I'm not, and I know people in this space are pretty intelligent. So people aren't like, man, I live in Miami and everybody's driving a fucking Rolls Royce. Well, yeah, that's Miami. But guess what? Those people in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, most of them don't live there full time. I mean, you know how many people from North Dakota I meet in Fort Lauderdale? It's a sick amount. And I laugh because I'm like, you're from Williston, the oil fields? Oh, right. No way I would ever guess that. So yeah, that's what if you see there's people, yeah, you're from New York? Yeah, I'm from the hills. Okay, but you're not from the streets of Brooklyn, right? Yeah, that's right. So people that try to give an argument that there's plenty of money going around, it's completely ridiculous in my opinion. There's no money in America. There's no money in the world. All the money is in the institutions, and what little we have in crypto, in the degen space, in the degen arena, that's it. What the real estate in North Dakota is exploding in value, and they say it's coming down. It does. The households in some areas, the house prices are coming down. They're collapsing because they're not getting $1 million for a house in Jamestown, North Dakota. And the sellers are like, how come nobody wants to live here for $1 million? Gee, it's 40 fucking below zero for 6 months out of the year. I wonder why. And it's going to cost $1,500 a month just to heat that thing for 6 months out of the year. So people are stupid. They're not getting smarter. They're actually getting dumber. The dollar is collapsing at a crazy rate. If you're not hedged against inflation in crypto, you've missed it. And the institutions aren't going to sit around and say, hey, we got 200 million Americans about ready to get a $5,000 to $10,000 in tax return for being broke. Let's let them get into crypto before we decide to kick this bull run off. No, that's not the way it's going to go. They're going to kick it off much sooner than that. Hold tight. It's here imminently. It's coming up. And I got to see who's here. Somebody just pulled up. I don't recognize the vehicle. But that's all I got. It's my opinion. Nobody else's. Great spaces. Everybody puts in great information, great knowledge, and great perspectives.
Matt, I love you, man.
Matt's always bringing the fire, always bringing the energy. Appreciate you guys, man. Seriously, we'll be back tomorrow. You guys know where to find us, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Crypto Breakfast Club. Thanks to everybody tuning in, everybody who listened in on the live stream on X, live stream on YouTube, live stream on Rumble. Thousands of people listened in this morning, so appreciate everybody out there who's listening on all those platforms. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate you guys.